Soccer has always been part of life in the Gateway City. From the 1950 U.S. World Cup team that made history against England, to the Steamers, to St. Louis University. From high school fields to goals tucked into backyards. Legends are born and legends are made under the arch. Tim Ream, Brian McBride, Steve Ralston. Too many to name, too many to count. Now they have a hometown team to call their own. St. Louis City SC are one step closer to Major League Soccer. Today, St. Louis hosts the 2023 MLS Super Draft presented by Adidas. Welcome to City Park and the beautiful confines of St. Louis SC's new home, where today dreams come true for the best and brightest of college soccer. I am Andrew Wiebe, joined by armchair analyst Matt Doyle and one of the most prominent voices in college and North American soccer, Devin Kerr. We are in the Lou, and we are proud to bring the 2023 MLS Super Draft presented by Adidas. The Florida Noise is here with us. They're packing the halls of City Park, prepared for their first game against Charlotte FC in just a few months. Over the next few hours, we will tell you the stories of the 2023 Super Draft class. There is some breaking news, guys. Trades have been going around. Just follow Tom Bogert for all the latest. We will bring you those as we have official confirmation. And, of course, in the next half hour or so, we'll have all 29 picks of the first round live. But Doyle, this is one of my favorite days of the year, and it's not just because we have a live audience. Thank you, everyone, for showing up. Enjoy the beer and the food, the festivities, the #1 overall pick as well. It's because it's an emotional moment. It's a payoff, Doyle, for all these players who have waited so long, who have worked so hard, and now experience today with their friends, their family, their coaches, their teammates. It's just a special day.
It is. It's an absolutely special day, and one of the big reasons is that by definition, every player we see drafted today, that's an underdog story. This is the road less traveled to professional soccer for the best players in the world. But for 28 years now, MLS has done it. We've seen so many great players come through the draft. So I love the Super Draft Day. I especially love that we're having it here in St. Louis. I know you just pumped them up. You're a Kansas City guy. I could tell it cost you a little bit right
Don't
there.
call me out here.
But it's so great to be in St. Louis, which, as you said, is the original home of American soccer. It's wonderful that MLS is finally here.
It's wonderful to have this live crowd with us to help make this special. We hope it'll be a special day for all 88 players selected, Devin. But there's no work. They have their work cut out for them in a league of designated player spending, of homegrown stars that we see in the World Cup, of just increased quality overall. We're always coming back to this question on the eve of the Super Draft, and that is, how much does the Super Draft actually matter in Major League Soccer?
I'll make it really, really simple for everybody at home. What's the most important game? It's winning a title, and you know the final last year. You look at guys who are on the roster: Andre Blake, Jack Elliott, Chris Donovan, Ibiaga. Let's talk about John McCarthy coming off the bench in goal to help them win a title. And, of course, both managers. There is depth and there is quality within this draft. You just got to look a little bit. There's plenty of assets around the 2023 MLS Super Draft. Just got to go find them.
Yeah, and it wasn't just last year. Remember that great Revs team in 2021 that sets a Supporter Shield points record? Their entire back line came through the Super Draft. And then if you want to take it to the bigger stage, the biggest stage, really, what we all just watched for a month, guys like Alistair Johnston, Kamal Miller, Richie Larea, Kyle Larin for Canada, Tim Ream, who we've already mentioned, a son of St. Louis, and Walker Zimmerman starting in central defense for the U.S. There is elite talent available. You just have to be smart about finding it, developing it. Let it go from there.
Who knows? 4 years away, there's a World Cup on these shores. Maybe some of these players will find their way into that position. We are not the only ones here to cover the draft. Susanna Collins is with us as well. She'll be chatting with players. Susanna, how's it going?
Thank you so much. Well, draft day is always one of my absolutely favorite days of the MLS season, because this is a moment where lives are being changed. This is a moment where dreams are being realized. There have been so many incredible moments throughout the drafts that I have covered. I remember last year talking with Ben Bender, who was sitting there watching the show with his family, and him getting emotional and paying tribute to one of his coaches he had when he was about 9 years old, and just feeling the emotions. And it's about the player, but it's also about all of the people that have helped get them to this point today. We talked to Shaq Muhammad and him talking about his family in Ghana that's going to be watching and how grateful he is for them and the support that they have given them. And that's what I love about today, because it's about the player. It's about them embarking on this professional career, but it's also a time to pay tribute to all the people that have contributed to all of their success to get them to this point. And that's what I'm going to be looking for today from these players, and just kind of getting that raw emotion, because it all starts right here today. So for more on the draft, we're going to send it out to Jillian Sakovitz, who's on the floor in St. Louis.
Thank you so much, Suze. Today is just one of many historic, amazing. You hear them behind me. These fans are just incredible. But like I was saying, today is one of the first of many historic events here at the brand new City Park. 350 people will be filing in here. We already saw and heard from the supporters. We'll also have ownership, dignitaries, and the who's who of this team all coming in here. But these supporters, these are the people that are going to be packing this house in just 73 days when St. Louis City takes on Charlotte in their inaugural home opener. So we have so much more to come here. You'll hear from owner Carolyn Kindle. You'll hear from sporting director Lutz Pfannenstiel, and also head coach Bradley Carnell, Andrew, just to name a few of the people that are going to be sitting right here with me.
All right. Thank you so much, Jillian. The season starts for St. Louis in Austin. Not a bonus game. Just going to throw it out there. 3 rounds, 88 selections in this 2023 MLS Super Draft presented by Adidas. We'll bring you the first round live. Further coverage at MLSsoccer.com. Each team has 4 minutes to make their selection. If they can't figure it out, they don't know who they want to take, maybe there's a trade discussion going on. All 29 teams, even the 4 that do not have a pick in this first round, are permitted 1 3-minute timeout to help work things out. And we already have some trades. It's official, Doyle. DC United had the number 2 overall pick. Well, they do not have that pick anymore. Orlando City picked it up for veteran right back Huon, and they now have 3 picks, number 1, 6, and 17 in this first round. Yeah, we'll see how long they hold on to 3 picks, right? Because one thing we know about the draft is there's always moves. But they must like somebody, because Huon's a very good player, and DC's side, he's a veteran. That's what DC's focus is right now, getting back up above the line and into the playoffs under Wayne Rooney. Another veteran for DC this offseason, RSL, also making a move for a right back. That's Aaron Herrera you're seeing right there. He is leaving Utah. He's headed to Montreal, who had a busy offseason. In return, RSL getting that $500K in GAM, an international roster spot, and the number 25 pick in this first round. Devin, this is a nice move to replace Alistair Johnson, another super draft pick of years past. That's the most important one for sure. Alistair Johnson goes, Herrera steps in. The next question for me is going to be for Lawfulson, right? Because you lose the right back spot, this is an opportunity opportunity. That's his accustomed position coming out of college. You can slip him in there. Maybe they're looking to a central location in the draft. All right, we'll see. What will these teams do? 1 through 10, your top 5. St. Louis City SC, the new boys. Orlando City moving up to 2. Rapids at 3. Quakes at 4. Dynamo at 5. And Doyle, I would read more of this, but it's going to shuffle, man. Yeah, it is. Like we said, we've already seen 2 picks or 2 trades in the top 3 with the Rapids trading in earlier this year and Orlando City trading in 90 minutes ago, which Tom, of course, broke, Woj style. There's going to be more of that. It's going to be tough to predict, but that's what's fun about the draft. All right, give me a position that you think is the strongest as we think about who these teams might take, Devin. I see them as utility players, actually. I don't see one position that's going to overtake this draft. There's not one guy that pops off and says, he's the number 1 overall pick. You have to go get him. I like guys that are versatile throughout. A winger who can drop into the wing back spot, who can drop into a marking back spot, a 6 and 8 and 10 who can fulfill all of that for one team. That's the beauty of this draft. We talk about value.
a lot of these guys carry the ability, wherever they're currently located for the collegiate squads, to drop into another spot, 2 or 3 at times. That's what teams should be looking at right now. Step away from the 9, move away from the 11. Where can they help my team out in multiple locations? I know you have a different thought about that, though.
Yeah, I just think it's going to be a center back heavy draft. Maybe 4 of the top 10 picks, but we'll see.
We will see. All right, let's talk St. Louis as we prepare in just, at this point, about 20 minutes for the first round, because we're in this beautiful city, Devin. I was here for the expansion draft. I learned more about the history. I'm from just down the road. I remember hating the St. Louis Steamers of years past, but look, it goes deep, the soccer history here. The past, the present, the future, it is all coming together for St. Louis.
Scott Gallagher is easily one of the top 5 developmental locations in the United States. It stretches way back when. Then you start to move in. SLU, 10 national titles in 15 years, 3 runner-ups in that same time frame. That's most all time in NCAA. Kevin Kalish has stepped in. They're on the up and up. The beauty that they've been able to produce. You talked about some of them earlier, right? Brian McBride, okay. Mike Sorber, Brad Davis, Pat Noonan, Becky Sauerbrunn, Taylor Twellman and his family. Look no further. I'll make it really simple. You talk about a hub. This is Mecca. Yeah. It's all about the United States. It's about St. Louis. This is Mecca and what they've been able to do for country in this soccer.
And the path goes clear to the national team. Every men's national team since 1950 has had at least one player from St. Louis. This last version had 2, in Josh Sargent and Tim Ream. There's always talent come out of here. They've punched above their weight for a good long time. It'll be fun to see what St. Louis City does with it.
All right, and let's see what the woman who brought MLS to St. Louis has to say about it. That is Carolyn Kindle. She is standing by with Jillian Sakovitz.
Andrew, thanks so much. Carolyn, you heard the roar from these incredible supporters. One of the first events here in this incredible lounge overlooking the stadium. What do events like this mean to you ahead of this inaugural season?
Well, it's unbelievable that we're here.
Yes.
You know, it was 2019 where we were told we were going to be an expansion team. We've put a lot of work into it, had a lot of support from everybody in the region, these wonderful people behind me. It's almost surreal that we're here today, but how exciting that Super Draft is here.
You heard Andrew say it at the top of the show. I know something that St. Louis prides itself on is being the heartbeat of soccer. So I know so much of the success around this franchise has not surprised you or these fans, but what has surprised you in the lead up to this first season?
I think just how supportive they've been. Every time we've asked for something, whether it be in person or on social media or purchase merchandise, wear the stickers, everybody's come through. And you saw it. We've broken records on ticket sales, app downloads, and it's just so much fun to sit there and continue to break records. But again, we can't do this all by ourselves. We need everybody in the region to help us.
Looking forward to that. And I know something that these fans are really looking forward to is the inaugural home opener here at City Park. It will be March 4th versus Charlotte. So paint the picture for me here, Carolyn.
Well, I think first of all, we're just excited to play our first match with our first team in our home City Park. So, of course, we'll have lots of programming throughout the day, but we want to brag to everybody in the world how beautiful our stadium is, and hopefully we'll bring home a winner.
You know, something that I love so much about this club is it's one of the few majority female-led ownership groups in all of professional sports. Now, I've spoken to women in front offices and ownership groups about having that conversation, and some say, I don't want to have it for the reason of normalizing it, while others say, well, let's celebrate it to inspire others. How do you handle that conversation?
Well, I'm fortunate because my family is very strong, successful business women. We work really well together. This has been a great opportunity for us to come together, but also to help, having that conversation. We're very excited about the opportunity in a city we love, and we just hope that we're starting to break glass and pave paths for other women in the sports world.
Carolyn, thank you so much. You can feel the buzz here in what's another historic day here in St. Louis.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Andrew?
Oh, it's not just the stadium either. Just across from us here is the training facility, which is just as beautiful. What a wonderful thing they're building here in St. Louis, and it launches on the field in 2023. The Super Draft is coming up in here, about 15 minutes or so. We have a Generation Adidas class of 11 players. That is the second most all time. Some big time talents here that teams will be able to choose from. Of course, those GA players, their number will not count on the senior salary cap, so there's a huge amount of value there, and one of them is Shaq Muhammad, who we'll chat with in a little bit. But here's an important point that you made, Doyle. The World Cup. Generation Adidas at the World Cup.
Yeah, a lot of them. There's a record amount of MLS players at the World Cup. Obviously, most of the guys who were there through the draft were guys for Canada and the U.S. It was a proud moment for, I think, all these guys. It was a proud moment for the league. And there's nothing to say that more can't be on the way. Maybe we'll see a couple pick today.
All right, one of the Generation Adidas players available today is Duke sophomore Shaq Muhammad, the ACC Player of the Year. He caught up with Susanna Collins earlier this morning.
Well, I cannot be more excited to be sitting down with one of the top prospects in this year's draft, Shaq Muhammad of Duke University. Shaq, I got to ask you, first question, how much sleep did you get last night?
I mean, not that much sleep, to be honest. The past few weeks, at least for me, have been very hectic. So building up today. So you can only imagine it's been a lifelong dream. And the night before, all you can think of is all the stuff that you put in during the journey to get here. So not that much sleep, but hopefully I'm sleeping a bit better tonight.
Just as we mentioned, a standout player at Duke. And I'm curious as to what you learned at Duke University. How did your experiences there shape you as a player and as a person?
I mean, my time at Duke has been unbelievable so far. I couldn't dream of anything better. I went to a place that loved me, that gave me the opportunities to grow both academically and obviously athletically. So my time there was unbelievable. The friends I made would be my lifelong friends. They're my brothers. So it was an amazing time. And the coaches specifically at Duke, they invested their time and effort in developing me to being the man I am today.
Real quick, before I let you go, if you had something to say to your family back in Ghana right now as they watch this unfold and watch this dream become a reality, what would you want to say to them?
I would say thank you. That's the only thing I can say. It's a bit emotional for me because, I grew up, like I said, in some pretty tough conditions. And to see all the sacrifices that my family, my mom, my dad, to get me here, it's been unbelievable. So all I can say is thank you for them trusting in me, believing in me, and investing in me to be at the stage of life that I am today. So I'm very thankful for them. Without them, I wouldn't be here. And I remember moments that made me the man that I am today. So I'm forever grateful for them, and I hope they're proud of me.
I think there are plenty of people that are incredibly proud of you, Shaq. Thank you so much for your time. Best of luck today. I'm sure we'll be talking to you again pretty soon.
Thank you. All right, have a good day.
And you can see the pride and the nervousness perhaps in this room. They know that there's going to be a name said on this broadcast. It'll be Shaq Muhammad at some point here in this first round, I expect. Devin, what's the quick scouting report?
One of the biggest questions for Shaq Muhammad coming in was going to be, could he handle the pressure with the departure of Thoriel Farson to Houston Dynamo? 10 goals, 2 assists, and 19 appearances. I'm no math major, but those stats check out. You mark in 12 games, that's not too shabby. Kid did it all and knocked it out of the park this year.
Yeah, the ACC Attacking Player of the Year. And you know what? There are some big-time Canadians in this draft as well. And we saw some of those at the World Cup. It's now become a path much traveled.
Me growing up, soccer wasn't a sport that was put onto kids. It was more put some skates on, get a stick, and go hop on the ice.
Growing up, obviously didn't see much Canadian representation in the U.S. or around the world, really. Over the past couple years, nearly a decade, the Canadian Football Federation has done a great job with player development, and we're seeing it pay off with top names like Alphonso Davies, Tejan Buchanan.
Starting to see more and more Canadians, playing in the College Cup, coming to the MLS Combine, getting All-Americans. It's great to see.
Having a platform in your country and in your town that is a really good level, that's something you could go for.
I think more and more parents kind of putting their kids into soccer at an early age, and I think the love of the game is growing of the entire nation, and we're starting to see that with the growth of the Canadian team at the national level and hoping to continue to see it grow.
Obviously we have a good team, and it's also younger guys. It was a successful achievement for us because it's been 30 years we didn't join the World Cup, and doing this, something we should be really proud of.
It's only gonna get better. Everyone's gonna be ready for 2026. It's just us looking to improve on what we did this World Cup.
I think the game's going to continue to grow to then, and then even there, it's going to take a whole new level. So I'm very excited to see where that takes Canada.
As a Montreal kid, knowing that you possibly have a chance to participate to the 2026 World Cup, I think it's something that you should be proud of.
That's my number one goal, to be on that field with guys like Alphonso Davies.
Of course, it's not just Americans dreaming about 2026. It's Canadians as well, Doyle, and they've seen the path blazed. They have reason to believe they can follow those footsteps.
They have, and there are more Canadian kids coming now than ever before, and it's actually kind of flipped a little bit because there's fewer American kids coming through. I think that's just the developmental pathway in Canada isn't quite as mature, so more of them are slipping through the cracks and leading these great collegiate teams deep into the College Cup. It's been good to see, and it's helped that national team a lot, and obviously it's helped MLS a lot. These are really talented kids.
Some role models to look to, Tajon Buchanan among them. But it's not just Canada that is pushing players into Major League Soccer. Africa is a pathway as well, and the Right to Dream Academy and others have had a big part to play in that influx of talent.
Grew up in Accra, Ghana, in the slums of Nima, to be exact.
I think the first image of life, what I can remember, is me playing soccer with my dad.
It's just a lot of pressure growing up in this area. Soccer was kind of the gateway for us to kind of get out of a very, crazy town.
I was like 13 or something when we did tryouts to come to Montverde, which is a high school in Florida.
High school coach Owen Finberg from South Can came down and watched players play, and luckily I was, one of the kids who caught his eyes and, offered to give me a full scholarship to go to high school in Connecticut, South Can.
It was a great opportunity for me because I could pursue school and still playing soccer, so which I love.
Parents were also big on education. Parents were like, this is a great opportunity. I'll get to go to school and be able to play soccer at the same time.
If you get your name called, the things would just be getting started and you have to work all the way through to your club. But just starting from there would be an immense pleasure.
It would mean the world to them, for sure. They know that I wanted to play soccer, and soccer has always been a dream.
Multiple generation Adidas players coming from Africa and the academies they're in, Doyle, and they're following others that have done it before. Sini Buddha was in this draft last year from Right to Dream.
Yeah, absolutely. That is a pathway now that is becoming more and more prominent for African kids. It's a great story. You heard basically all of them talk about it's a chance for them to continue their education, continue their pro dreams, dream of something bigger for themselves and their family. And there's no signs of it slowing down. If anything, it's picking up. Certainly looks that way from the Generation Adidas class that we have on the board.
Just a reminder around MLS, we have not completely tapped the routes of talent into this country. There's so much more to go, so many more opportunities. But one of the ones that have come through more of a traditional path is CJ Fodry, who has an interesting mentor at San Diego Loyal. That is Landon Donovan.
From San Diego. Pretty much lived there my whole life. Went to San Diego State University. As a youth player, I played at Nomads for 8 years. Played at Albion for a little bit. I played at Surf for a little bit. But I think I gained the most experience at San Diego Loyal, the USL Championship team there, right before I went to college. I was asked to go to a tryout for San Diego Loyal, academy, to be for academy first team players. So not getting paid, obviously, but still playing with the first team. And yeah, I went to the tryout, did good, and then got invited to preseason with them, and then stayed with them until college season. Being Landon and Nate there, I've worked so much with. After every training, we do a lot of 1v1 trainings, and a lot of the times we'd be working on my right foot a lot. Types of runs he would do, I remember watching him and Keen. One would be checking off, one would be running in behind. His movements off the ball were just super good, making first post runs, and even if you're not going to get the ball, making space open for other players. So I learned a lot of that from LD. Obviously, he perfected that into his game, and that's why he scored so many goals. I still have a really good connection with them, still talk to them a lot, and I feel like I've developed a lot under them, and I still talk to them pretty much every other day.
Then played forward, and the shot is in! What a finish by CJ Fodry.
Yeah, I think jumping from youth to professional, I think you learn that the game's a lot faster and you're dealing with guys that are a lot more physical, so your decision making has to be a lot quicker. And obviously wherever I go, or if I do go pro right at 18, I gotta realize maybe it won't happen right away like what I expect, but I think just keep my head down like I have the past couple of years and just keep working for what I want, and then it'll all come together.
Celebration from his lone pro goal with the Loyal, 5 appearances, but he's the youngest player in this draft, Devin, and he has a good head on his shoulders.
Yeah, winger, fast, tall, powerful. He's one of what I like to call the unicorns within this draft. You talk about the pathway, Andrew. He's unattached. MLS teams love that. He has no affiliation from growing up, and yet he's got all the right tools to get it done in the final third. The question about him is going to be, what is his best position? So 100% on the front line. Do you play him on the front of a 4, of a 3? Like, what does that look like attacking-wise? He's getting much better in the half spaces on that half turn on central locations. If he can continue to cultivate his game, now you're looking at a guy that not only has speed and transition, he can hold up play. That's a target number 9. Versatility, that's what I was talking about.
A lot of potential there, but maybe a future play. Let's talk about the present, Major League Soccer. Oh boy, news this morning, Hernan Losada, former DC coach, is named the head coach of CF Montreal. That is the final vacancy on the coaching front in MLS. It is filled. Timbers earlier this offseason set a club record transfer fee for Evander. Paxton Aronson sold. Kevin Cabral traded to the Rapids from the Galaxy. Boy, it's been a busy offseason, Doyle, and I have a feeling it's only going to get busier.
Yeah, I mean, the trade and transfer window hasn't even officially opened yet, Weeby. So, yeah, it's going to get a lot busier. We're all expecting and hoping for some big signings this winter. There's a lot of teams with designated player slots open, so there's going to be a lot of big moves. Can't tell exactly how it's going to shape up, but
Thiago Almada of Atlanta United, a late call-in for the World Cup for Argentina. Oh, look at him. I'm just rubbing shoulders with Lionel Messi, Devin. I'm just winning the World Cup and celebrating on the streets of Buenos Aires.
Just hanging out, having fun. One of the greatest ever to do it. What'd you do in the offseason? Picked up a World Cup title. But it is a testament to the growth within MLS, right? Talked about the GA class, guys getting opportunities to play in the World Cup. Winning it is a whole nother story. Tons of players, tons of experience. Great growth.
And someone who knows plenty about Thiago Almada is Jillian Sackvitz, who we're fortunate to have with us here in St. Louis. Jillian, what a moment for the young man.
Yeah, Andrew, I can only imagine what this moment meant to him, but also what this moment means to him on the field. You know, being integrated with now the best national team in the world, Argentina's national team, playing alongside and training alongside guys like Messi for 5 weeks. Almada, 21 years old, becomes the first active MLS player to win a World Cup. We've seen other former MLSers do it in David Villa, Thierry Henry, Bastian Schweinsteiger. But for Almada, whose trajectory, Andrew, is already likely Europe and big, big things ahead, I can only imagine what this experience has done to expedite that trajectory.
All right, thank you, Jillian. What a special moment for Thiago Almada and Atlanta United. But the World Cup also brought tragedy to this North American soccer community. As we prepare to celebrate the next generation of MLS Super Draftees, we would be remiss if we did not celebrate the life and the work of a North American soccer icon. Longtime soccer journalist and writer Grant Wahl tragically passed away Friday, December 9th, doing what he loved most, covering the World Cup. Grant's kindness, passion for the beautiful game, and principles as a journalist were apparent in everything he did during more than 2 decades, helping build the soccer community we all love. Grant will be deeply missed, and our heartfelt condolences are with his wife, Celine, his family, his friends, and everyone he touched during a life well lived. The 2023 MLS Super Draft presented by Adidas is coming up in just about 40 seconds here from St. Louis City Park. The fans have packed it out. Fleur de Noise is here. We are going to have a grand old time, and 29 players are going to learn their fates. We'll have it for you live, including interviews with the players as they're picked, video from the draft room, and, of course, all the atmosphere here in St. Louis. The Super Draft 2023 presented by Adidas. Coming up after this. The following presentation of the 2023 MLS Super Draft is presented by Adidas. Today, dreams come true. 87 young men's lives forever change in an instant. Today, the professional journey begins as Major League Soccer welcomes the 2023 Super Draft class. They are the best college players in the country, but they won't be handed anything. They've got big talent and big shoes to fill. Who will be the next Walker Zimmerman? Walker Zimmerman! From first rounder to three-time Defender of the Year. The next Tejan Buchanan, a history maker in Qatar and well on his way to the top of the European game. The next Christian Roldan, a legend who's still packing trophy cabinets and making CONCACAF Champions League history. The next Miles Robinson, a player even the most ambitious MLS club can build around. The next Roman Celentano, from Super Draft selection to playoff starter in 1 year. The next Ben Bender, a true difference maker from day one. Who's got next? We're about to find out. This is their dream. Today is their day. The 2023 MLS Super Draft presented by Adidas starts now. It's time for dreams to become reality. It's a frigid day in St. Louis. Storms are all around the country, but we're nice and cozy here at City Park, where 29 players will learn their fates live in the first round of the 2023 MLS Super Draft presented by Adidas. The first round pick belongs to St. Louis City SC. Now, if you've been on Twitter, you might know that could change. Change is inevitable on this day. I'm Andrew Wiebe, joined by Matt Doyle and Devin Kerr. Devin, you've been in this position, man. We hear the fans. We know the guys are nervous at home. What are people feeling right now? What are these players feeling?
It's excitement, for sure. I mean, the understanding that your dream is about to become a realization, and they call it a cliche for a reason. It's true. Whether you started this journey at 4 years old or the stories you're going to hear, some of these guys at 14 years of age, they're about to accomplish that. They're also about to embark on a journey where their work has just started. I mean, it's a dream realized, yes, but the hard work, now it's time to get going.
Yeah, this is the hard part coming up. I do think that you mentioned when the dream becomes reality. I think back to our good friend Bobby Warshaw, who, of course, wrote his memoir with that title. He talked about when he heard his name picked, called by FC Dallas a dozen years ago, he went from like not caring about them at all to like ready to die for that team. That's what these guys are going to experience today. It's a great day for the league. It's going to be a great day for these kids.
It's an emotional day for everybody involved. And as is tradition, we will not start the clock. That honor belongs to MLS Commissioner Don Garber.
Good afternoon, and welcome to the start of season 28 in Major League Soccer with our first event, the Super Draft, presented by our great partner, Adidas. Today's Super Draft comes at an incredibly exciting time for all of us involved in soccer, whether here or anywhere in the world, as there's just so much momentum behind our league and our sport. During the past month, we saw an MLS record 37 players compete at the World Cup in Qatar. And some of these athletes, guys like Walker Zimmerman, Super Draft in 2013, Christian Roldan in 2015, guys obviously from the U.S., and Canada's Kamal Miller just a couple of years ago in 19, and Alistair Johnson in 20, were all selected in the MLS Super Draft. Our draft provides the first look at our upcoming season, a year that will see the debut of our 29th club, St. Louis City SC, a team that has created incredible excitement in the city, throughout the region, and as if you heard, has more than 60,000 deposits for season tickets. We'll also begin a 10-year partnership with Apple, one of the most innovative companies in the world, and a company that I think speaks so much about where MLS is and where it's going in the future. Together in February, we'll launch MLS Season Pass, a new subscription service that will provide MLS fans around the world with the most comprehensive and accessible schedule of games and MLS programming in the league's history. Next summer marks the debut of the new Leagues Cup, an official CONCACAF competition where all 47 MLS and Liga MX clubs will play in a World Cup-style tournament in July and August, and we could not be more excited about that. Preseason is only a few weeks away as the Seattle Sounders begin training January 4th in preparation for the FIFA Club World Cup. The majority of MLS clubs begin training 2 days later, and all teams will return by the middle of next month. Today's Super Draft continues to play an important role in roster building for all of our teams. In addition to the players who competed in the World Cup, many other Super Draft selections made a real impact this year, including the goalkeeper of the year, Andre Blake of the Philadelphia Union, and MLS Cup winner, Ryan Hollingshead from LAFC. Now, today is the start of a new chapter for so many young men as they pursue their dream of playing professional soccer. For the players selected today, this will be a day that you and your families will never forget. So congratulations to all of the players who worked so hard to earn this opportunity. And I look forward to seeing you develop and succeed in Major League Soccer or MLS Next Pro in the coming years. And with that, I'd like to say that the Super Draft starts with St. Louis City. You are now on the clock.
Waiting for those words, as always, to get the Super Draft started. Thank you, Commissioner. We always appreciate it. Here are your rules in case you've forgotten them or you didn't see them. 88 selections over 3 rounds, all live through the first round right here on MLS channels. You can follow further coverage of the second and third on MLSsoccer.com. 4 minutes on the clock for each team. You can see St. Louis's time ticking away, and every team is permitted 1 3-minute timeout. Here is the war room for St. Louis. John Hackworth gathered around with his staff. Lutz Pfannenstiel here on the floor with us as well. And here is your draft order as it currently stands. The top 5, St. Louis City SC, Orlando City, swinging a trade before this draft began on this Wednesday to move up to number 2 and all the way through 29 in the first round. There are 4 teams without picks. That's Toronto, LAFC, Chicago, and Montreal. And Orlando have the most picks. They have 3, while a couple others have multiple picks as well. Okay, we've gone through the rules, we've gone through the draft order, and we have some time to talk about what St. Louis has done and where they might be going. Doyle, what does this roster look like right now for you?
Well, they have a DP center forward, they have a DP goalkeeper, right? And that's the anchors, and they've been slowly adding pieces throughout the past year to that foundation. I think they have a couple of pieces in central midfield. They have some very good wingers, and all of it is built around the system that I think Bradley Carnell executed as a head coach for the Red Bulls, which is high pressing, energy drink soccer. They want to win the ball back as quickly as possible, and they want to play forward. That is going to define who this team is. And look, I think it's just better to have a point of view when you play. If you know what style you want when you're getting step foot on the pitch, then I think Lutz Pfannenstiel still has a point. You don't need the high-level DP players. You need the team to win. If they execute, they will perform.
All right, we have some breaking news here. There is a trade. The number 1 overall selection has been moved. St. Louis City SC picking up a package of assets. They're loving it. They love GAM here in St. Louis. $400K in GAM split over 2 years, as well as the 20th overall pick. going to St. Louis SC, and Charlotte are going to receive the first overall pick in the 2023 Super Draft. Well, that's 2 years in a row now. Charlotte will pick number 1.
Yeah, you don't make this trade if you don't know exactly who you want. So Charlotte, this isn't speculation. This is like, okay, we really honed in on someone here. We know who we want to take. And for St. Louis's point of view, it's like, okay, maybe there wasn't somebody that they loved. Maybe there wasn't an exact need that was hit with guys who they thought were worthy of going number 1. So trade down, get a little bit of GAM, and reboot at pick whenever they're, I guess, 20 is what they
20
trade down
is what
to?
they've got in the first round. So they got one first round pick left over, and they'll have to wait till number 20. But they've also got GAM, Devin, and we know that they said, look, we're probably done on international signings, but we will look around the league. And in MLS these days, if you've got GAM, you've got somebody who wants it, and you might have a veteran player you can bring in.
Which leads back to your point, right? Like the vision of what position you want to go get. How about in the midfield?
Yeah.
Right? Derek Jones had a pretty good end of the season, but as we all know, injuries for him and repetitions within the starting lineup haven't exactly been kind to him. Great end to the season for Derek Jones. It may be a little help within the midfield to kind of solidify that there. When you look around, Swiderski had a good year. Felt like there was personally a lot of pressure on him. Mm-hmm. Daniel Rios, okay, but you need some help within those spots to relieve some of that pressure, release some of the stuff coming down into the flanks. Talked about the flank players, the nines, guys that could be versatile, maybe leaning in that direction.
Oh, boy, Charlotte making a decision. I think they probably already have it made, but whoever decided on that blue Christmas tree, props to you for sourcing that. That is some beautiful stuff. So, some other rumors going around with Charlotte right now as well. A number 9, perhaps out of Argentina, out of Racing. Copetti could be coming in, would be a club record transfer fee, Doyle. That's the sort of signing that could elevate them from just below the playoff line to really being a competitor.
Yeah, I mean, Devin nailed it, right? They need help in a lot of spots. Getting a DP in number 9, a DP number 9 in so that Swiderski doesn't have to do it all on his own. That would be the number 1 thing on my board. But they're in their second year. They missed the playoffs. If they like a guy, no matter what position he is, they're going to go for best talent available.
All right, we will see because the pick is in with the number 1 overall selection in the 2023 MLS Super Draft presented by Adidas. Charlotte FC, select a defender and Generation Adidas signee from Clemson University, Hamadi Diop. The center back coming off the board, guys, early on. They knew who they wanted, Devin, and they went out and got him.
Did we not just have this conversation outside 30 minutes ago?
Yeah.
If I've got the number 1 overall pick, who am I going to get? I'm going to get Hamadi Diop for a variety of reasons. Physical, tall, speed. He's left-footed. Guy's a unicorn for a center back position, and yet he doesn't have to play the left center back spot. He can play the outside marking back on either side of the field. The past 2 seasons, he's had a bunch of professionals in front of him. That's where the versatility comes from. It's not incapability. And yeah, he can swing it a little bit from dead balls, 25, 30 yards out. He likes to attack. He's got good vision. He's committed. This is, for me, the number 1 player in this draft if I had the option to go get him.
From Dakar, Senegal, Doyle. He's a Montverde Academy grad, so he spent some time around Orlando City. You think Philip Mayaka, Andre Shinashiki, Ed Kizza, they all came out of Montverde as well. But you pair him with Malanda, and you see the emotion of this for him as well. You've got 2 really good young center backs to build around.
Yeah, it's a nice foundation for them, and they think they needed a left-footed center back, given that Guzman Carujo, who was, I think, very good last year. He picked up a pretty nasty injury near the end of the season. Diop makes a lot of sense for them, especially the one thing that Devin didn't touch on, he can carry the ball off the back line with the ball on his foot. He could tilt the field. That's how Christian Latanzio wants that team to play.
All right, 1 pick in this super draft. Right now, Orlando are on the clock. Well, let's go to Jillian Sakovits, who is standing by with Lutz Pfannenstiel, the sporting director of St. Louis City SC.
Thank you, Andrew. Lutz, now you traded that first pick. Can you take us behind that a little bit and tease a little bit what's to come for St. Louis City?
Well, it's always about having a plan or a strategy. And we looked at every single player in the draft. We looked at literally all the games we could look at. And we decided for ourselves that we want to have a swap for the number 1. We don't necessarily need the number 1 because we already have a pretty much big squad. We have a unique situation that we have 21 players signed by now. No other expansion team coming in the Super Draft ever had that position. And I mean, the gentlemen up there on the stage, they said it. It's all about a strategy and filling the squad. So that's what we're doing today. And what you see right now on the board, is not always what you will see in the end. So maybe something will happen again.
Ooh, a teaser there from Lutz. Answering my next question, so it's fair to say you might be a little more active today, St. Louis City.
Oh yeah, now we have a few popcorn up there and watching for a few minutes, and then I think we will talk again, yeah.
All right, Lutz, before we let you go, you heard Matt Doyle say to expect energy drink soccer from St. Louis City. Is that a fair analysis of this team this year?
Yeah, in our playing philosophy, I think we discussed it quite a lot. We will play a high-pressing, attacking football. It will be very much based on transition, so it will be quick, it will be lethal, and it will be very, very hard-working. So I think our fans here, which thanks for coming, which is an unbelievable support we have. I'm pretty sure they will enjoy every moment, and we really can't wait to be out there against Charlotte in 73 days.
Absolutely. Well, you heard it. Lutz says there's more to come, so we'll have you back and join us to go over that later on. Andrew?
Oh, it was fun still. Nothing if not an entertainer. We will see how the roster building goes once the season starts. In Austin to start, and then right back here for Charlotte. We're on to the second pick. That's Orlando, who have 3 picks in this first round, 1, 6, and 17. Well, how'd they get this pick? They made a trade right before the Super Draft began. Huon, the veteran right back, more than 100 appearances for Orlando, being sent to D.C., who have collected some veteran pieces this offseason to try to improve their fates. You see there, Profe Oscar Pareja in the war room for Orlando City. Doyle, what does their offseason look like? There's rumors right now. Tom Bogut reporting on Twitter. Sources at Orlando City have agreed to sign a third DP Argentine winger, Martin Ojeda from Godoy Cruz. They got to make some moves, and it seems like they're starting to do so.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big one. That's their third DP. That is their biggest asset they can use in terms of upgrading the roster. But they've lost a lot of pieces. We saw Tesho Akindele just announced his retirement the other day. Junior Urso went back to Brazil. As you mentioned, Juan's gone. João Moutinho, he signed with the Serie A club, so both starting fullbacks are gone. They could go in basically any direction here and add value. I'm not sure exactly what to focus on. I think it goes back to what I was saying about that first pick. It's like, with the top picks, you go for the best talent available, almost regardless of fit. That's what has tended to work in the past, including for Oscar Pareja, who's made some good draft picks in his day.
Absolutely. Look, we had a Generation Adidas player go number 1 overall. That is the 12th straight year that a GA player has taken that number 1 overall selection. We're now down to 10 GA picks left. Those, of course, provide some flexibility on the salary cap for these teams. Very valuable in that sense. Also tend to be younger because they are underclassmen, though COVID rules in NCAA, Devin, as we know, have changed things just a little bit. Who is the guy on that GA board right now that you would be thinking, I like this talent, I think he should be a high pick?
Look, it's definitely team-specific, right? What's your need? So let's relate it to Orlando City, and we're not guessing that they're going to pick these guys, but think about their needs, right? You mentioned Junior Urso not available, right? And the guys that are out of contract. Pato as well.
Yep.
Gone, no longer there. Benji Michel out of contract. When you start to work through, you think attacking players, and more specifically, versatile wingers. If I related that to the GA class, I'm looking at someone like Bertrand Jacasson from Pitt. I call him the little mini Mbappe, and I say that because his playing style is actually quite similar. He likes speed. He likes to stretch the game. He's comfortable on either wing. What you're looking for here is interplay, which we know Orlando City is more than capable of. Yeah. That's a guy that would feel like he would look really good here, and yet there are so many other players. That's just my personal favorite.
All right, Orlando City, the pick is in. We are still waiting to hear, and we have it now. We have it. The number 2 overall selection in the 2023 MLS Super Draft presented by Adidas. Orlando City take a forward and Generation Adidas signing out of Duke, Shaq Mohammed. Another GA player off the board. Guys, we just had a chat with Shaq Mohammed. What a wonderful moment this must be for him to be taken number 2, and you kind of hit the nail on the head, Devin. If they were looking for a versatile attacker, boom, there he is.
He's an interesting piece, too, because we talked earlier in the pre-draft show, what's his profile? Could he handle the pressure? Thoriel Farson takes off to MLS. Yes, he does that. 10 goals, 2 assists in 19 games. He's got a lot of speed. He's not super tall, but he's physical. He has the abilities to knock guys off the ball, get down into the channel. Where he's taken a lot of strides this season is working underneath, checking back to the ball, trying to find a way to work with others around him. Incredible work rate. Yep. That's not a question whatsoever. So he comes deep. What I'm looking for here is the continuation of that, because you're not always going to be the guy. Now an opportunity to be the one because he's been drafted.
Oh, my God. You love the group hugs. Shaq Mohammed. What a moment for him and for his family as well, who are also watching from home here.
Look at that dog.
This is the St. Patrick's City Buna. He's a guy that went from right to dream to Millbrook School in New York and then into a big-time college soccer program. It just does not get better than this.
No, it doesn't. I'm very happy for him, his family, the dog. He's going to end up in a place where he can play, right? And that is a big thing for a lot of these kids, that fit and that opportunity. Because not all the kids that are going to be picked today, not all of them get that right away. But with Orlando City, they have CONCACAF Champions League to open the year. They have the 34-game game MLS schedule. They have Open Cup, which they always compete for. They have Leagues Cup. They will have the playoffs most likely. This team could end up playing 55 games this year. So I think that Shaq Muhammad's going to get a chance to prove himself in the league. I'm very excited for him to show what he's got.
For him to do that, too, if you look at the systems that Duke has had over the past 2 years, they've had the opportunity to change. So John Kerr Jr., he's played in a 4, he's played in a 3. For Shaq up top as the focal point, that's kind of easy for him to shift in and out at in theory, right? When you start to move him, if you decide to move him out of a central location onto the wing, how does he respond when the ball's on the far side of the field and you're not the main guy? Mm-hmm. When you're not the one that they're always looking to, and this isn't a knock on him, because at that level, he was asked to do so much. They played into him a lot, and he stretched the game. But when you're not the one that's always there, you got to stay tuned in. That's the biggest thing that will separate these players getting to the next level. You'll hear it from any single coach. We know what you did in college. You were a great academy player. Can you be consistent at the pro level?
What's the next step for Orlando? You see they're starting to make these moves, and of course, Tom's reporting. He's got sources on that one, not official yet, but Shaq is in and official. What's the next step for Orlando in 23 after what they did in 2022?
I mean, in terms of just building out the roster, I think the next step is going to be focusing on those fullbacks. But the next step as a club, I think, is to reestablish that trust with the fan base, because the crowds last year weren't what they had been, and I think winning the Open Cup goes a long way towards that. The style of play, I think what we saw in 2020 from this team in terms of holding the ball, using the ball, breaking teams down with really attractive soccer, that's how Oscar Pareja wants to play. They haven't really been able to do that the past couple of years. So I think the moves that we're seeing now, the new DP, Shaq Muhammad, whatever else comes through Tom's Twitter feed in the next couple of hours, they're going to be geared towards that. They're going to be geared towards being a team that plays some of the most attractive soccer in the league.
Go further on that attractive soccer, and tell me if you agree or disagree with this, but when you break them down as to what they were last season, I got an opportunity to see them a lot, as we all did, specifically on the Open Cup side of stuff, but watching their video, to me, when I watched them, this team had the ability, when switched on, to win an MLS Cup. They were that good. The problem is, and I just mentioned consistency for a singular player in Shaq Muhammad, what about the rest of the team? Because they also could have been bottom in the Eastern Conference, right? Yeah. So they kind of hovered in that 5, 6, 7, up and down. But when you are balancing your schedule, what is the next step going to be for you? I look at the consistency factor.
Yeah.
Outside back as well. Now all of a sudden you've lost both of your outside backs that were mainstays. They were irreplaceable. Huon's gone. João Moutinho gone. We look on the attacking side of the ball for sure. Defensively, do not forget about it, especially the way that they play. The overlapping runs and stepping in the final third. Watch the outside back spots.
All right, look, they have 2 more selections in this first round of the Super Draft. So there's some opportunities to fill those holes, but we do have the pick in for the Colorado Rapids with the number 3 overall selection in the 2023 MLS Super Draft presented by Adidas. The Rapids select a defender and Generation Adidas signing from New Hampshire, Moise Bombito. I talked to my friend earlier today. That would be Patrice Bernier, who knows a little something about soccer in Montreal. You know what he said? He said Moise Bombito, who came from the junior college ranks to New Hampshire, played at the same youth club as one Ismail Kone.
Oh,
Devin,
I've heard of him.
That's a decent connection there.
Yeah, not too bad. The Canadians are taking over MLS.
They really
are.
I
mean, it's another one. Bombito, UNH. The interesting thing about this team was there were a ton of transfers, so they didn't have him very long, about 4 months. But when you talk to Mark Harbert about what he was capable of, speed, yes, height, yes, stretching the game from where?
From the back line.
From the back line, just like you talked about. So 2 center backs going early. And, his distributional capability is nice. Almost at times where you got to slow him down a little bit. You don't have to be the athletic guy to come. patience truly is a virtue in this situation. Slow the game down. Let everybody else work around it.
From what I understand, Bombito was a midfielder through most of his youth career, and then got switched to center back. And I have said this to you probably a dozen times over the past couple of days. If I was making picks in this draft, I would focus on guys who were really good midfielders and attackers, but could be converted to center back at the pro level. For Moise Bombito, that's already happened to him, right?
Yeah.
So he's a step ahead of the game. But that comfort with the ball on his foot, it's become more and more crucial for modern center backs to have that. Can play through the press a little bit, can carry play upfield, can tilt the field a little bit. It's a pick that I think Robin Fraser, he'll enjoy that a lot, given where he played back in the day.
Coming into be with a good coach to help develop him. Congratulations to Moise Bombito for being the number 3 overall selection. San Jose Earthquakes are now on the clock, but Susanna Collins is standing by with an interview with the number 1 pick, Shaq Muhammad.
Amadi Diop, congratulations. You are the number 1 pick in the 2023 MLS Super Draft. I have to ask you what went through your head when you heard your name called.
I don't know, because it's something that I'm still processing right now. So I didn't expect it. There are a lot of good players out there in the draft. So when St. Louis had it, I didn't really expect myself to go number 1. Then I'm but when I heard my name, I'm I don't even know. I'm still processing right now as you speak.
It's such a big moment. And not only are you the number 1 pick, but Charlotte traded up to get you. That has to feel pretty amazing. What was that like?
That's amazing. When I saw the trade, I really didn't think that was for me. But then, that means how much they value me, which is great. That's every young player that wants that value a lot. So I'm ready to put the work in. So they have put a lot of money on me. That's fine.
It's so great. We saw a piece earlier in the pre-draft show, and you were speaking about some of your earliest soccer memories and playing soccer with your dad in Senegal. And here you are, the number 1 pick in the 2023 MLS Super Draft. Can you kind of describe at all what this moment means to you from where you came from to where you are right now?
This is all I've been dreaming of. Playing soccer at a really high level. We were born in a 22 generation. It was the World Cup. When Senegal made it to the quarterfinal for the first time ever. So, our parents were my parents were always happy and always supported me playing soccer. So it's just a dream come true right now. I didn't expect number 1 pick, but I'm extremely happy.
We love it. I love it. Who are you celebrating with? We saw a couple of people getting really excited with you on that couch when your name was called. Who's there with you?
This is the family that I'm staying with. I've been, quite a while now since I first got in high school. So I have my children here too as well. My son and the dog.
And the dog.
Dog is here.
Amazing. Well, Hamadi, congratulations. Enjoy this moment. Wishing you all the best in 2023.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Hamadi Diop, the number 1 overall pick in this 2023 MLS Super Draft presented by Adidas out of Clemson. Big congratulations to him. Obviously a wonderful moment for him and a team that he can go into and perhaps earn some playing time early on. Right now, San Jose Earthquakes on the clock at number 4. We have 3 picks down so far, all 3 of them Generation Adidas signings. We've got some trades we've already seen. Of course, the number 1 pick moving from St. Louis to Charlotte for Gam, and the number 20 pick. DC sent that number 2 pick on over to Orlando, who had 3 in the first round. They've used 1, the number 2 on Shaq Muhammad. And then Moise Bombito going to the Colorado Rapids at number 3. We have word that there might just be a trade brewing right now. The Colorado Rapids
Tom's
are no
Twitter feed.
strangers because, by the way, they got that number 3 overall selection in a trade when they sent Mark Anthony Kaye to Toronto for Ralph Priso. All right, we have the trade. It is in. It is official. News to report. Boy, it's already flying fast. San Jose are receiving, split over 2 years, $250,000 in GAM, and New England are receiving the 4th overall pick. So Colorado, maybe there's nothing brewing with them. Maybe they are holding on to Bombito, but we do see the number 4 overall pick change hands. The Revs have moved up, and Doyle, you said it. They've been very successful in the Super Draft of late.
They have. If you think about that back line for the past couple of years, it's DeJuan Jones at left back, Brandon Baye at right back, Henry Kessler and Andrew Farrell at center back. All four of those guys came through the Super Draft. Bruce Arena has a long history of finding elite defensive talent in the Super Draft, going back to Omar Gonzalez and A.J. De La Garza, going all the way back to Eddie Pope. One of the original draft picks in MLS. So he's got his eye on somebody, and it makes sense. The Revs need help on the back line. They're super thin. Injuries killed them last year, and they don't want to repeat that. And we've seen Bruce in the past. Like, if you're good enough, you're old enough. If you're good enough, you're experienced enough. Whoever he picks here, if this kid impresses in the preseason, he'll be on the field when the season comes.
There you see the Revs war room. Bruce and the boys getting ready. They've just made a move, 250 to San Jose.
Which one of
to
those
pick
guys?
Up this number 4
which one
spot.
of those guys is texting Tom the pick?
Oh,
one of those guys. Come on now.
Whoa! Slow that roll right now. Protect the young man back there. He's providing us information. Come on, identities. We don't need to give those away. New England here at number 4, and we are waiting to see here. The pick is in, as I see here on my screen, so we can get you that here right now. With the number 4 overall selection of the 2023 MLS Super Draft presented by Adidas, the New England Revolution select a midfielder and Generation Adidas signing from the University of Maryland, Josh Bolma. Another GA signing off the board here, Devin. This is no surprise. That's 4 for 4, and Bolma, a highly rated guy. Sasha Swarovski has said, whoa, he's one of the best I've had.
Yeah, speed, 7, 10, 11. Look, depending on the system, and of course with Revs, we have an idea that they've settled in a 4. You can drop him into an outside marking back spot. That's the thought that could possibly happen at the next level. One of the issues is statistically, sometimes you look at this guy and think maybe he doesn't have enough production. He got beat up. I mean, he was the focal point of the right side of the flank for Maryland and the Terrapins, but as he went, a lot of fouls, but coming off of that, right? The ability that he was able to create left to right side, more of an attacking player than known for his defending. Now, in the final third, needs to get better. But that will come with time. You're still looking at a young man who's taken 5, 6, 7 fouls a game, a junior who bounced around a lot. Maryland, ton of talent. Utilize you wherever he can. That's the versatility I talk about. 3 or 4 different locations on the attacking front, and you possibly can drop him into an outside marking back spot.
You know what that scouting report reminded me of? What we were saying about Tajon Buchanan 4 years ago. The same knocks on him was that he wasn't quite productive enough in the final third, but all the tools were there, and of course we saw what he became for the U.S. For the Revs and the Canadian national team.
Oh, what decor! A king moment for Joshua Bolma. I want to shout out his father George, his mother Dorcas. He's got 4 siblings back at home. I'm sure they're all celebrating this moment as well. 2-time All Big Ten selection at Maryland. Also won a national title at Kent High School in Connecticut in high school. A big moment for him, and I like the Tajon Buchanan shout. If Bruce and his staff are looking at this player saying, we need to move up to get him, that's a good sign, Doyle. And as Houston Dynamo are on the clock with about 3 minutes to go, we should also say that the Revs need a little bit of help. They went from record-setting to missing the playoffs. What is this offseason and pushing to 23 like for them?
Yeah, it's actually been a little bit of a slow start to this offseason, but I assume that is going to ramp up over the next couple of months. The real question for me is, are they going to commit to that 4-2-3-1 that they played for most of the second half of the year? I think that puts Carlos Gil into his best spot as a playmaker underneath a 1 and with 2 wingers running off of him. The issue is you can't really fit Gil and Gustavo Bo and the other new center forward DP Vrioni onto the field together in that formation. So they have some stuff to figure out. And of course, I went on and on about their back line, and then they didn't pick a center back, but they still need to address that. They do not have enough depth at that spot to get them through a long and grueling season. We literally saw that put to the test last year.
Yeah, I would also say, though, and I'm with you on the back line for sure, but when you look at it, so Henry Kessler, Andrew Farrell, as you continue on, chemistry, injuries, a lot of that gets messed up, and I think people take for granted what it's like being a center back on the back line. Yes, you're a leader, and especially in the modern game, you're in charge of so much. You're like the quarterback of the offense, right? You come off, goalkeeper comes to you. Okay, what's the best direction to head here? Am I looking for a simple ball to the outside back? Can I play into my 6? Are we going to go direct up over the top? When that chemistry's not there, the convenience of knowing the subtle nuances of the players around you, that messes with you. And we saw that a lot. So even if Omar Gonzalez or John Bell stepped in there, plenty of depth, and you can get that done when you don't have a regular starter next to each other. That really disrupts the flow of the entire team.
Quick correction, or addition, I should say, for the folks at home. As we announced that trade, we did not include the fact that New England also sent the number 10 overall pick in this super draft to San Jose. So San Jose get $250K in GAM, as well as the number 10 overall pick, which is coming up here in just a little bit, while New England get the number 4, which they've used on winger Joshua Bolma. So big move there to start it off. You can see the corrected there if you're more of a visual person. All right, moves flying thick and fast. I'm trying to keep track of all of them. Meanwhile, the Houston Dynamo are on the clock. Devin, about 50 seconds until we find out who they're selecting. But this is a big offseason for them. Hector Herrera brought in middle of last year, did not get him to the playoffs. They make a coaching change. Ben Olsen comes in. What's your read on the Dynamo?
Sebastian Ferreira hits it out of the park last year. You know, to me, like a pretty good season, right?
Double off the wall, we'll say.
There
okay,
we go.
Maybe not out of the park.
This reminds me a little bit, okay, so we just talked about Orlando, right? This roster reminds me of Orlando a couple of years ago, right? There's the transition where James O'Connor came in. He inherited a bunch of roster guys that we'll just say didn't necessarily fit his style. Mm-hmm. Took some while to get them out of there, though. So not cleaning house in a bad way, but you're trying to work towards it. Tim Parker goes to St. Louis, Fafa Picault to Nashville. Darwin Quintero, his option has declined. Achara, I like him. I like Achara. We saw him in the draft last year, so I look at an attacking player up front to maybe help Ferreira and Achara to give them some depth, to help continue forward, create chances, score some goals, and defensive depth. With Tim Parker gone, center back. Like, who's going to be the guy now?
All right, we have a timeout, as you see on the screen right there. Susanna Collins, meanwhile, has been busy behind the scenes. She caught up with Shaq Muhammad, taken second overall by Orlando City.
Shaq Muhammad, we chatted earlier today, and you weren't sure when your name was going to be called, but as it turns out, you are the number 2 pick today. You're heading to Orlando. How does it feel?
I mean, this is amazing. You know, this is literally a dream come true moment for me. And to be able to share this moment with my host family, my family back home, and, you know, all the people that have helped me along the way at the Duke University, Millbrook High School, it's just amazing, you know, to know that all the work that people put in me is finally paying off. So couldn't be any prouder, you know. Special thank you also to our team, you know, for, you know, giving a kid, my 10-year-old self, a chance, you know, to be part of the academy. So this is unbelievable, you know. This is, you know, what you dream of. And to finally know it's happening is unbelievable.
I have to say, I know you're used to wearing blue as a Duke Blue Devil, but the purple looks pretty good on you. The Orlando purple. What are your initial impressions of your new team?
I mean, wonderful. I spoke to them a few days ago, and right after that, I was telling my host that you know, it seems like an unbelievable organization, and you know, it just aligns with my values and all that. So I'm ready to go, and you know, the purple is for sure a plus. So let's go get it.
Let's go. I have to ask, have you called mom and dad in Ghana yet? Do they know that they're going to have to watch some Orlando City games now?
Exactly. So I actually sent it to my brother right before this, so I'm hoping they're watching. But regardless, they're emotionally present with me here, even though they're not physically here. So I know they're proud of me, and that's all that I aspire to do every day. And I aspire to make them proud, and that feeling, you know, makes me very emotional, but thankful for them, for all that they've done for me also.
We'd love to see it. Shaq, congratulations. We could not be happier for you. Welcome to MLS.
Let's go. Thank you.
Let's go.
Hi.
Well, if you want to watch Major League Soccer and you want to watch Shaq Muhammad anywhere in the world, I think you can do that. That's the benefit of this new Apple deal coming through. So check out Season Pass. Should be some really fun stuff in the year 2023. Launches February 1st as well. We're on to the 5th pick right now, and the clock is ticking on the Houston Dynamo. They get one timeout. Somebody else can swoop in here with another timeout if they're working on a trade. TBD on that one. Well, Doyle, we shall see. Thor Jofarsson last year.
Yep.
Maybe they find someone else that can impact their team this year, because Thor did in 2022.
Yeah, he was a good pick. How he fits with Ferreira is going to be an interesting piece piece of this year and this solution for this Dynamo team, because they played Thorir Flarsson on one wing and the other. They played him underneath a little bit, but I think he's really a center forward. And if those two guys can play together up top in a 2, and then they have Ache and Karaskia underneath as dual 8s, suddenly you could maybe see them playing a 3-5-2. Now, that was never Ben Olsen's preferred formation when he was in D.C., but, you could teach an old dog new tricks, I think.
Oh, boy, you see on the screen, we're finding out as you are, there has been a trade here. Houston Dynamo, $125K in 2023 game, $100K in 2024. You do the math, $225. Then you have the 13th overall pick, and the Vancouver Whitecaps are going to get the number 5 overall selection in the 2023 Super Draft. Guys, that is all 5 picks changing hands at some point on Super Draft Day. Number 1, Charlotte, picking it up from St. Louis. Number 2, Orlando from D.C. Number 3, the Rapids. They traded that last season, Mark Anthony Kaye deal. San Jose moved it to New England, and now Houston have moved it on to Vancouver. Oh, boy, it has been a wild, wild day here so far.
I'm pretty sure the sixth pick has already been traded
probably
as
already
well.
Right? Orlando's busy enough. They've got it figured out. And I have the number 5 overall selection in. Let's announce it right now with the number 5 overall selection in the 2023 MLS Super Draft presented by Adidas. The Vancouver Whitecaps select a midfielder and Generation Adidas signing from UNC Greensboro, JC Ngando. The Frenchman going to the Vancouver Whitecaps. They pick up a midfielder, Devin, that is versatile and has followed an interesting path to get to this point.
Vision for sure, a little bit older, coming through Paris FC. High level over there, but I'm going to go the collegiate route. 8, 10, can you find a way? If they need him defensively to do a little bit more, this is kind of what I talked about, though, is you don't have to, but the guy's a playmaker. He's got all the ability in the world. He has the chance to get into a different spot and help this team going forward.
All right, JC Ngando, in his own words, telling us about what this means.
So I flew from Cameroon at 7 to France, and I always wanted to be a soccer player. So I started to play for a local club where I come from. And at 17, I ended up to sign in an academy. Like I play U19, and I trained with the professional team. I thought I would see my first professional contract, but it didn't happen. And I still wanted to be a professional. COVID happened, and I started to think about my future, what I wanted to be, and coming US was one of the best decisions.
Wow. There it is, the hugs. That's going to be on repeat today. JC Ngando finding a home with the Vancouver Whitecaps at number 5, laughing, crying, enjoying this moment, and no reason not to. The hard work comes tomorrow, Doyle. Vancouver, we're on the brink of the playoffs, and we talked on Extra Time to Vanni Sartini. He said, look, the first 10 games of the season, we just gave points away. This is a team that's actually more complete than most people give them credit for.
Yeah, I like their roster a lot. I didn't think that attacking midfield was necessarily a position in need with this team, but maybe they see in Ngando the ability to drop him a little bit deeper. He's a kid who played as a 10 in college. Maybe you could drop him down into a number 8, have him as a sort of a ball-advancing Darlington Nagbe type of central midfielder, because he is very ball secure. And the Caps under Vanni Sartini, they absolutely need some ball security and some ball progression from deep central midfield.
Start to stoke the fire on the defensive side. You don't necessarily need him to go that deep, though I'm with you, because when a team drops into a low block, JC Ngano really comfortable coming out of the pocket, moving into the wing. So they need some wing-back help for sure, but you don't necessarily need that in this situation. Yeah, we're talking about one player, and I get that. But JC Ngando, attacking midfielder, great. Can he be that hybrid in the 8? Time will tell in that situation, but he is comfortable outside. The ability to flow, to create for others, that's the greatest thing about him. International spot, sure, but this guy has the drive and the work ethic. One of the knocks about the international players with COVID or guys coming over a little bit later is because they are older. Stop. It's experience. It's experience.
All over the field. Guys are not done developing at age 23 years old. Guys can still get better deep into their mid-20s. We've seen it from MLS legends like Chris Wondolowski. We've seen it from guys who just burst onto the scene last year like Brandon Vasquez. JC Ngannou is the same age as Brandon Vasquez. Who says he can't do in 2023 the central midfielder equivalent of that? So I like that Vancouver took a chance here. I'm rooting for this kid.
All right, 5 picks in so far. Hamadi Diop, number 1 to Charlotte. Orlando took Shaq Muhammad. Colorado, Moise Bombito, winger Joshua Bolma to New England, who traded into the spot, and JC Ngannou to Vancouver. By the way, we joked about Orlando at 6 maybe trading that pick. Well, they did trade for the pick because they got it from Chicago way back in May in that Chris Mueller deal. So now all of the first 6 picks in this super draft changing hands, the results of trades.
This job's easy, Weeby.
Just keep it all straight. Just keep it all straight.
We're going to break last year's record at this rate.
I think so.
That bet just got a little bit loose on your end.
Last year's record might already be gone. So Orlando at number 6, we just saw their draft room, waiting for them to make their selection. They got about 1:45 left on this one. Who needs to step up, Doyle, for them in 2023? Who's the one guy on that roster that they already have that you look at and say, we just need a little bit more?
It's Erkan Kara. They went out and they got a DP center forward ahead of last season. And Erkan Kara, his per 90 numbers weren't bad. They weren't incredible, but he certainly wasn't a bust. But there were times in the most desperate games in the season when Oscar Pereja was like, he's not giving us enough of what we need. And Erkan Kara came off at the hour mark. And that's not what you need from your DP number 9. You need a little bit more leadership. Certainly you need more defense from him because he played none. He is the biggest wild card for this team because if he plays like the guy that they hope he is, this team could end up 5-6 points better. If he regresses from last year, they might be in some trouble.
2 points, 1 on Erkan Kara, and we've seen this so many times before in MLS. The outsider, whether it be, especially the Europeans, getting accustomed to the game. Second year.
You don't get that Florida heat in Austria.
You don't get that Florida heat and humidity, let me tell you. The St. Louis weather a little different, and he's just adjusting to it as well. Yeah. How about one of the elephants in the room that we haven't talked about, Pedro Galese, and he hasn't re-signed yet. Yeah. That, to me, is, I agree with you on the 9, but if you don't have him, you have a problem at the goalkeeping position. There's not a lot of depth there. He's one of the most talented in MLS. That's the number 1 priority for me, to go get him and solidify that ink.
I'm surprised nobody said Facundo Torres taking the leap here because he's a guy that was with Uruguay at the World Cup. He's a guy that showed sort of in flashes.
Is he a guy or is he the guy?
He is the guy.
Yeah?
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Well, he doesn't need to be the guy.
You tell us why Facundo Torres is the guy. Which version of him is the real one? The one we saw in the Open Cup or the one that we saw fade out of the regular season?
Well, I think Orlando City hope it's the one in the Open Cup, but you can also look to the David Goss theorem. Yes, it's the first time we've said it on the show. I win the bet on that one, that the second year is where you're going to get the best. He's a young guy who had to go to a new environment, big expectations, big transfer fee. He got this career moment, and now he's got to build on it. Speaking of career moments, here we are with yet another timeout in the 2023 MLS Super Draft presented by Adidas. More time to drink Heineken, right? Yeah? They're just having a good old time here in St. Louis, waiting
they're waiting for a pick. Slow down over there. Oh, there we go. Now they're
I want to hear from you. St. Louis has a pick coming up here later on in the Super Draft number 20. In the meantime, as we wait for Orlando City to figure out what they're doing, let's hear from some of these Super Draft prospects about something close to their hearts, but not the game, their pets.
I ask everybody this. Do you have any pets?
I do not, no. Growing up, yeah, fun fact, I got bit by a dog when I was 6, but now I love them, and my apartment complex in Dallas, it seems like everyone got dogs.
I got a pet? No, I don't. It's not that I don't like pets. I feel like I won't be able to take care of it. It'd be nice to play with a pet, but sometimes it's a bit too much.
I have a little dog, yeah. It was my sister's decision, but I like the dog.
Yeah, I got two dogs. Had some cats too, but no more. Yeah, I'm not a huge cat guy.
So we have 3 cats.
You want to tell me about Bella?
Yeah, Bella's my 14-year-old potbelly pig. The story is I had a project on pigs that I had to do, and my parents made a deal with me thinking that I wouldn't get it done. I had to get all A's at the end of 3rd grade. I grinded it out, and here we have Bella, and she's a part of the family.
Well, if you had Potbelly Pig on your bingo card for the Super Draft, I applaud you. I don't know how you would have known that. Shaq Moore here. He's getting in with Fido, getting a nice pet. Nice to get congratulations from everybody around. Family, dog. They're all happy for Shaq on this day. Orlando City is on the clock at number 6. They've taken a timeout. This is their second of 3 selections in this first round of the Super Draft. Of course, they traded up to number 2 and took Shaq Muhammad from Duke, a Generation Adidas player. So far, 5 Generation Adidas players off the board. There are 6 remaining guys. It's not as busy as I'd want it to be in Orlando City's draft room. I'm thinking maybe they know what they're doing here.
They're just milking it a little bit.
There's not a lot of urgency.
Yeah.
Like, Weeby, dance for us. Yeah, well, as we wait for the 10 seconds to go out, who's the number 1 prospect to you, just the guy that you like, not even for Orlando City that's still on the board?
I mean, Malcolm Johnson is the name that jumps to mind, the younger brother of Alistair Johnson, who did so well for Nashville coming into, I think it was the 11th pick in the 2020 draft, immediately won a starting job, then spun that into a starting job with the Canadian national team, and of course just got a transfer to a Champions League team. So, and like that's what you like. That is hitting it out of the park with a super draft pick. Malcolm, very good player. A little more athletic, would you say, than Alistair?
Yeah, a little bit. And that's not a knock on Alistair Johnson. Yeah. Alistair was sort of a specialist of sorts, even though he was used on either side. But attacking side, and I still look at – I mentioned unicorns earlier, right? Attacking side. This is an area where for Orlando City, why not go get someone who's not international? Why not get someone, because you have the money and you have the luxury of those attacking pieces, get someone who's not necessarily a GA. Step outside of the realm. Go look at who was successful last year and chase that dream.
All right, we will find out who they've taken. The pick is now in. With the number 6 overall selection in the 2023 MLS Super Draft presented by Adidas, Orlando City select a forward from Creighton, Duncan McGuire. Duncan McGuire is the selection for Orlando City. 23 goals? Am I right about that, Devin? This guy just absolutely poured him in for Creighton this year.
23 goals in 24 appearances. That's the 5th best output for a striker in NCAA since 1998. Super raw. His starting point from where he's at now, very, very different, but he's humble, strong, wants to work. The guy's got an engine. The biggest thing about him is you watch him on film, and you kind of just sit back and go, okay, he's a 9, he's up there, he occupies space. You see him in person, blown away at the College Cup. Work rate that's unmatched. We talk about comps. Think Jordan Morris and Will Bruin. An engine that just never stops. Good enough in the air, not great. Can throw the ball half the field, which is certainly an asset that you can utilize. But getting down into the pocket, when he is not stretching the game, if he's off the 9 and in hold-up play, it's an area that he has the footwork, but expect him to take bigger strides there in order to be successful at the professional level. That's where his game needs to continue to progress.
You know what I loved about that highlight reel that we were just watching? I try not to judge too much off a highlight reel, but those were all strikers' finishes. Those were all one-touch finishes in the box. And those are the types of goals that if you find them at level after level after level, it tends to translate up. It tends to translate guys like Brian White, Jeremy Abobasi, guys who didn't necessarily come in and get handed a starting job, but they eventually found one because they kept scoring goals like that.
Here's the reaction. Looks like baby brother coming in for a hug. A wonderful day from the kid from Creighton, going number 6 overall to Orlando City. They did need a backup center forward, Erkankara, who we've talked about a good amount so far. It's really him, and then the depth sort of goes away. Teshwa Akindele just retired.
They still have Jack Lynn. Jack Lynn was very
Yeah.
good in MLS Next Pro last year. You know, it might
But
be
they're 3 deep now.
Right. So, and it might be a competition between McGuire and Jack Lynn to see who could be number 2 on that depth chart. And, of course, once you get to number 2 on the depth chart, there's only one more spot to go. And that door, I honestly think that door is open based upon what we saw last year from that front line in Orlando.
Relate the two together. So we talk about the player and we talk about the team, right? What do? They put the ball on the ground and they play.
Yeah.
If you're a scorer and you're getting into the right spots, you're doing it for a reason, because you're smart, because you understand systems. And Duncan McGuire has a very high IQ. You talk to Johnny Torres at Creighton. He talks about work ethic, yes, his physical abilities, that's fine, but the understanding of the game. That's going to be one of the most important things for him stepping into Orlando because of the way that they like to move the ball around the field.
And you know what the funny thing about this is right here is that throughout the past 25 years, we've seen MLS teams go out and spend big on the attack, and then go through the draft or through lower division signings to sort of build out their defense. It looks like, based upon what we've seen so far, that Orlando are going in the other direction. Orlando just picked 2 attackers in the top 6 in the draft. That's their depth done for the year. I think the rest of their offseason, they're going to be focused on central midfield and their back line.
Speaking of another attacker that got taken early on in this draft, New England getting Josh Bolma at number 4, a Generation Adidas signing. Susanna Collins got his reaction on the pick.
Josh Bolma from Ghana to Maryland, and now the New England Revolution. What does this moment feel like for you?
This is definitely surreal. I mean, I wasn't expecting it, and that was the crazy part. And now I get to go forth. I mean, they traded up to get me, so that really means that they really wanted me to be here with them. So, I mean, it's just a lot of mixed emotions right now, but I'm just really excited to be able to get my name called up this early and, you know, someone taking a chance on me, and, you know, that's just all I dreamed of. So this is definitely an amazing moment right now, and, you know, it's definitely special.
As you said, the Revolution traded up to get you, and they have historically done pretty well in this MLS draft. Guys like Tajon Buchanan and Andrew Farrell and so many others. To add your name to this list, what does it feel like? What does it mean to you?
It definitely means a lot. I mean, you know, I'm so honored. You know, this is a great club. I mean, they've had the history, as you said, with young players like myself. So I'm just really looking forward to it. You know, I feel like, you know, I'm ready. I'm going to, you know, try to live up to, you know, the expectations. But this is definitely, you know, very special time for me and my family and, you know, people around me. So I could only be grateful right now. That's all that's running through me right now. Just be grateful to, you know, everyone that was involved along the way, you know, God most especially. So, yeah.
Where is your family right now? Have you shared the news with them, and what was their reaction, or what will their reaction be when you get to talk to them?
Yeah, I was actually on the phone with them right before I got on this call. They were definitely, like, you know, in so much joy and tears, and it was just, you know, a lot of yelling and screaming. But, you know, I know they're very happy and, you know, just proud to see me here today. Like, that's what we've been praying for since, you know, I was back home, since growing up with them, my siblings, and, you know, we've always dreamed about these moments. And for them to be able to witness something like this is definitely, like, surreal and heartwarming. So, yeah, they're really happy. They're so happy right now. They keep, like, hitting my phone, but I told them I have to do an interview, so they have to hold up a little bit. Yeah, they can't wait to talk to me again. So, yeah, it's definitely really, really special for me right now.
Well, Josh, we appreciate your time. I will let you get back to your family. Enjoy today, soak it all in, and yeah, welcome to professional soccer.
Thank you guys very much.
Boy, those Revs colors look good on Josh Bolma, and don't you know it, we got another trade.
7 for 7, Weeby. 7 for 7.
All right. We've got Atlanta sending the number 7 overall pick to RSL. RSL sending $175K in GAM back to Atlanta. Big move for Garth Lagerwey and Carlos Bocanegra. And the number 7 pick is in for Real Salt Lake. With the number 7 overall selection in the 2023 MLS Super Draft presented by Adidas, Real Salt Lake select a forward and Generation Adidas signing from the University of Washington, Elijah Paul. Elijah Paul from the University of Washington, the selection at 7. And, Devin, they know him real well from his academy days.
It's funny, you talked about the untapped talent, right, and his journey, right? So he leaves one, goes to another, a Barca guy who ends up at Phoenix Rising in the USL Championship, who then ends up at Washington under Jamie Clark. Systematically, he's seen a bunch of different things. He has been asked to play. He has been asked to go quickly in transition. And he's had to sit behind some big guys. I mean, to give you an idea, when he's coming in, Didier Drogba bought Phoenix Rising, okay? So there's someone that we've certainly heard about, stopping by training sessions, giving some tips. Jamie Clark, they play a little different, of course. The guy's definitely got a ceiling and works. I like his feet. I think he's got really good soft feet to be able to play with everybody. I wonder what he's going to look like at the next level, though, because of the way that Washington plays. Is his best spot actually in the 9? I'm not exactly sure we know that yet because we haven't exactly seen the sample size that big at a high level. Does he go to the 9, the 7, the 11? Another one of the picks, and we probably sound like a broken record, but we gave you an idea this coming in that these guys could be moved all over, especially in the RSL system.
Has a little bit of an adventure to his college career. Started at San Francisco, had a foot injury, ended up at Washington, didn't play. Then when he played, didn't score, then scored, I believe, 11 goals this year. He was the Pac-12 attacking player of the year. But, Doyle, we are sort of waiting to see what RSL are going to be under this new ownership group.
Yeah.
This is an interesting one for them to harken back to their past. But what do you see in their future?
Yeah, it's a really good question because it's been a slow burn. When the new ownership group took over about 11 months ago now, I think everybody expected that it was going to be a couple of big splashes. Those splashes never really came, but they had a very good season anyway. And part of it was finding a gem like Jasper Lafelsund out of the Super Draft last year, and he became crucial for their success, even though he was picked around 70th, I want to say. Part of it was getting guys on loan like Sergio Cordova, who really came into his own at the end of the year, but we don't know if he'll be back. And part of it was sort of recommitting to the homegrown pathway, which had defined RSL for a while, and then sort of went dormant for a few years. It seems like with this pick, like literally trading back in to the top 10 in order to get your own homegrown player, it seems like a very concrete recommitment to that RSL ethos of valuing the guys that you develop yourself and finding a pathway for them to get onto the field.
16 and 25 as well for RSL. They got the 25th pick in that Aaron Herrera trade with CF Montreal. So far, every single pick, all 7, have been the subject of trades, which means Peter Vermees and Sporting Kansas City, make your move. You're on the clock. A minute 37 to go. I'm just waiting to hear in my ear, oh, another one has been traded. But, Devin, this is a year sort of like the Revs for Kansas City where they go from the top of their conference out of the playoffs, and now they're trying to figure out how to climb back up. They have 2 big pieces that are coming back, Alan Polito and Gadi Kinda, DPs that were injured but no longer.
Never lost 2 before in the history of MLS, both DPs out. I want to lead with a quote that Peter Vermees gave me at the Open Cup semifinal against Sacramento Republic, and he said that you can't be the master if you don't experience it. What didn't they experience in 2022? Anything that could go wrong went wrong. And you started with the DPs for sure. You think about the roster and how things started to change. Elie Sanchez goes to LAFC. Buzio goes to Venezia. Jalen Lindsay to Charlotte. Courtney Ford got hurt. Different levels, and it created this disjointed look. And yet, they still get to an Open Cup semifinal. They still show glimpses of what it can be. This is a team's got to get healthy. I also look at the back line. Can you get help with the change? Nicolas Disi, Matt Marin out of contract, Andreu Fontas. Is that the pairing you want to go for here? Or do you maybe look up top, longer in the tooth in certain areas? Johnny Russell's not going to be around forever. Can you get some help? The opposite ends of the field are where I look for this team.
I will say one thing that is certain. Whoever this young man is who gets picked by Sporting Kansas City, the people in this room are going to boo him because we're in St. Louis, folks.
Oh, the rivalry already beginning. Number 8 selection is in. Let's get to it right now with the number 8 overall selection in the 2023 MLS Super Draft presented by Adidas Sporting Kansas City. Select a forward from FIU, Steven Afrifa, the Canadian chosen by Sporting Kansas City. The St. Louis faithful booing this selection. We got him in that early profile there, one of the Canadians that have come to Major League Soccer now. Devin, through the college ranks. What's the scouting report?
Ball at the high speed with the ball at his feet. Unbelievable. And we know that Peter Vermees in the front line loves that transitional play out on the wings. Take players on at full speed in high areas. He's not a traditional number 9, but he can play with his back to the goal. Spin off, always knows where the goal is. That's one of the most important things. On the front line, inverted winger, 9, outside mid. One of the things that we heard around this draft talking about Afrifa was guys wanting to move him out of position. Could they get him into an outside back spot? That's not the right move. Instead, Peter Vermees and co. recognize the best assets of this player. They go get him, and he's going to be able to learn from some quality attackers in front of him.
He reminds me a little bit of Willie Agata. And Willie Agata, when he came in late summer for Sporting Kansas City, his ability to attack the space in behind opposing back lines, that transformed the entire Sporting, not just their attack, he transformed that entire team. They were one of the best teams in the league down the stretch. So if Afrifa comes in and he's a like-for-like backup for Agata, I mean, I think Devin's right. I think they're picking this kid to play as a forward because, like everybody else, Sporting's got ambitions to play a lot of games this year. They're not used to missing the playoffs. They want to be back in it. They're going to need depth to get there.
Yeah, I would like to say thank you to Peter Vermees and that entire war room for not trading. And now we have another trade to announce. We heard some boos here in St. Louis. But now I think we're going to hear some cheers because there's a trade by St. Louis City SC. They are picking up the number 9 overall selection in the 2023 Super Draft for $175K in GAM and then a third-round pick in this Super Draft. So Seattle and new GM Craig Weibel moving off this pick. The Foot of Noise is loving it. The Heineken is flowing, and they are having a good time tonight, and they are on the clock at number 9. Okay, as we wait for St. Louis to get their pick in, let's get to an interview with Susanna. Duncan McGuire, the selection by Orlando at number 6, had a chat with Suze.
Duncan McGuire, you are headed to Orlando City. Your professional soccer career officially starts today. What's going through your head right now?
I mean, it's kind of hard to believe. You know, it's been a dream that I've had since I was like 5, and I always believed in it. And for it to now be becoming a reality, it's kind of hard to wrap your head around, but I'm definitely excited, and I'm excited to get started.
It's such a special day, and we know that your mom was helping you get this all set up, this interview. So I'm assuming you're with your family. What was their reaction?
They were over the moon. They wanted it just as much as I did, so I think they bursted my eardrum hearing my sister yell a little bit, but it was awesome to see that they were that excited for me. But yeah, it was definitely huge. They've been a huge part of my support group since my whole career, so it was great to have them there with me.
Well, you're coming off such an incredible stint at Creighton, 23 goals. How do you think your experience there is going to translate at the professional level?
I think I just got to stay confident and get comfortable with my teammates and just myself and trust the process and really just work hard. And I think that will translate over to MLS perfectly. But I know I have a lot to learn, but I'm excited to get started.
Well, Duncan, congratulations. Go enjoy this time with your family. Go celebrate.
Will do. Thank you very much.
All right, we have St. Louis on the clock here, about 22 seconds remaining. It appears that the pick is in. Okay, here we go. With the number 9 overall selection in the 2023 MLS Super Draft presented by Adidas, St. Louis City SC selects a midfielder and Generation Adidas signing from the University of Creighton, Owen O'Malley. Oh, they love it. I could have said anything that would have cheered. Yeah. That's a beautiful thing, Devin.
Yeah, they're just happy. They finally got one of their boys, the Creighton boys, going here. They got to the College Cup semis, and now they're on the professional stage. He's a versatile player. Got to get him out on the wing, most importantly. When you look at St. Louis City, they need outside backs. Yeah. They need the ability to have a guy that can still attack this crazy ball energy, elusive with or without the ball, got a nose for goal. He's really, really competitive. Defensively, he's not really into the defending. However, with the way that this team wants to transition, you're going to get him higher up on the pitch, more involved in the attack. He's comfortable cutting in. It's another area you want to look to stoke the fire a little bit. But another guy, much like Duncan McGuire, Johnny Torres, he's got 2 guys in engines combined a lot this season. Work rate. And you better believe under Brady Carnell, you're going to be up and down that plank all night long.
Yeah, if they could get him to buy in.
Look at this squad, by the way. They're bought in.
They're bought in.
The whole family's bought in.
But he is the prototype of college winger becomes a pro wingback or fullback. Just becomes a hybrid two-way player.
Think like we just talked about Orlando City. Think about a João Moutinho type player who's super comfortable high up, right? He has the ball at his feet. He has no problem down in the corner. When he tracks back, wide open space, he can chase someone down. But when you get one-on-one with someone, what can you do? That's the area you're going to look to push.
All right, 7 out of 9, GA. Another GA going at 9 to St. Louis, who pick up that pick in a trade here from Seattle. Owen O'Malley out of Creighton, our second Creighton player taken so far in the top 9, including Duncan McGuire, to Orlando at 6. We had the trade. San Jose now on the clock. The clock is ticking for them. The clock is not ticking, Doyle, to find out who the head coach is. Lucci, we knew it was going to be, but he was with the U.S. Now boys in San Jose. What does year one of Lucci look like?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I expect it to look a lot like his year one in Dallas when they had a very good defense, a very compact team that didn't give up a lot of goals and were able to transition from back to front with really attractive soccer. Where they struggled was in the final third, creating those kill patterns to turn possession into goals. How he has progressed as a coach is going to determine a lot of how this San Jose team progresses as a whole this year. On top of that, the really interesting thing about San Jose is, like, they pretty clearly want to be the Philadelphia Union of the Western Conference. Like, they are very explicit about wanting to push as many homegrown kids into that first team as is possible. And look, Northern California, the Bay Area, is one of the great hotbeds of youth soccer in this country. And over the past 5 years, they have finally committed to sort of mining that area for gold. I'm like, if you're a U.S. youth national team sicko, which I know a lot of people watching the MLS draft are, San Jose is sort of the dark horse team for you next season, I think.
What are your thoughts as you look to this next season?
No, I'm with you on that. Abobasi, Espinoza, Montero, you start to move forward. I liked what you said. Kind of like when you slow it down, it seemed a little disjointed.
Yeah.
Right? So if the game didn't come to you in transition, which they were awesome at 100 miles an hour or almost bust. So if you slow it down, maybe are we looking at central midfield here? Add a little bit of depth next to Jackson Ewell to help out so that the pivot pieces, when it doesn't go your way, you can slow the game down, step on it, still have that DP spot.
Yep.
But playmaker, that hybrid 8-10. I know we talked about not really having a lot of guys that fulfill the one position. Maybe for San Jose see something here, and they feel like we can go get something in the center of the park.
All right, as we wait for San Jose to make their selection at number 10, just a little clarification for you. My guy Trey Fitzgerald, RSL, got in my DMs, and if you were maybe wondering, okay, well, why is Elijah Paul not a homegrown signing for RSL given he was in the academy? Here's the reason. He went GA because you have to spend 12 consecutive months prior to your 18th birthday in the academy. That was not the case for Elijah Paul with Salt Lake, but clearly they saw something they liked, and they went out and got him. We are 9 picks down. 7 of the 9 come from Generation Adidas. Trades are flying. Go at MLSsoccer.com. The trade tracker, as well as the SuperDraft tracker, will keep you updated on all that if you want to know the details. And the people here in St. Louis, well, they're having a good time as we wait for San Jose to make their selection, Devin.
You know an area that we didn't address, and you touched on it a little bit, but I'm going to lean into your center back love here for this draft. Mm-hmm. Defensively,
yeah.
You mentioned it's 69 goals against, second worst in MLS.
Yeah.
And we're not knocking on them, but that's one of the things about this transitional offense. You open yourself up in a variety of ways. If you go, you all have to move together. It's littered with a bunch of defensive prospects.
It is. Joey Apononu, the Generation Adidas center back, he is still available here. They are 5 deep at center back. They did go out and make a trade up to make a draft pick last year in Oscar Agrin, and then they signed more center backs over the course of the year. It has to be best available talent. I'm certain it is, though now it looks like they may be trading it.
Well, look at that. We have a timeout. And so as we wait for San Jose to figure out what exactly they are doing, keeping, trading, what have you, let's tell you about a player who has a very unique path this Super Draft. Herbert Indley is a guy who grew up in the U.S., went to Tanzania with his family who are diplomats, and is now at Indiana on the brink of a pro career.
I was born in Minnesota in 2001 to 2 Cameroon immigrants, both my parents born and raised in Cameroon. They moved over to the United States and hoped to provide a better life for their family and for their children. When I was 4, we moved to Tanzania. My dad is an international lawyer for the United Nations, so we moved over there, lived there for about 5 years. And I'd say that's kind of where I got introduced to soccer, because I went to a huge international boarding school where there were children from countries from all over the world. So like soccer's the one sport that's played all over the world, so that's where I got into it. Soccer was the thing that I played every single day. We moved back in 2010 when I was 9 years old, and then from there, that's kind of when I started playing soccer, like organizationally with my local club team, and then playing in high school and then into college from now. My relationship with my dad is fantastic. I mean, I talk to him all the time. He's always a phone call away. Every time I call him, he'll answer. Even though he's so far away and he's so devoted to making sure that his family is okay and maintaining a good communicational relationship shows the type of man that he is, and he's raised his kids, not just me but my sisters, and so well, taking care of his wife as well. So he's a huge inspiration for me. This is kind of the one thing that I've always wanted to do. It would be a great moment, not just for me but my family and my parents, just because they've raised me, they've been by my side. The two people that have been by my side since I was a young boy, they've always believed in me regardless of what I wanted to do in the ups and downs.
Wow, clearly Herbert Enderle makes quite an impression as a person. What a journey to get here, what a family he has, Devin. Tell us a little bit about him as a soccer player.
I want to add something to the journey, by the way, because most people don't know this, even though he was Mr. Minnesota and all that jazz. Wasn't really recruited a lot. In fact, it actually came down to 2 schools at the NCAA level. The famed Indiana Hoosiers, the most successful collegiate program of all time. Sorry, SLU, I know you guys got the most titles, but statistically, they are the best. And Northeastern. I mean, those are very far apart within each other, and yet he's so humble. He's got a high IQ, just like his parents. The learning curve, and what Todd Yeagley said to me, was something that was really interesting. You go from the guy being the guy, and you step into Indiana. Okay, can you work with others? Plays well with others. Checks that box. That's fine. Use him at the 9, on the left side, on the right. Once he moved to the right flank, okay, you couldn't replace him over there. Literally irreplaceable, but he does give you that versatility up top. The learning side of things. He's not a very vocal person. So, some of us are visual, right? You talked about the board earlier and things like that. Some of us like to write things down. He actually will ask his questions and write them down and then have them given back to him. That's the way that he processes information. I was kind of taken back by that. I thought that was really interesting because you don't really hear that in the modern day, and yet the kid's good. I mean, He's got speed, big game player. Statistically, kind of like Josh Bulma. Josh Bulma, we mentioned earlier from Maryland that the stats don't tell the true story because he got beat up a lot. I don't mean that in a negative sense. Enderle's the same way. He's kind of like that hockey assist guy. It's the ball before the ball, or because there's so much pressure on him out on that right flank, he got knocked, battered, and bruised. Indiana scored 44% of their goals from set-piece opportunities. I promise you, you go look at the stats from dead ball situations about where that foul come from, that kid was probably on the receiving end. In tune, led to a goal.
All right, the pick is in San Jose with the number 10 spot, and here it is. With the number 10 overall selection in the 2023 MLS Super Draft presented by Adidas, the San Jose Earthquakes select a defender out of the University of Indiana, Daniel Mooney. Daniel Mooney is a selection. He's also a local boy here in St. Louis, if my memory serves right. They're 100%. Going to the back line. They've had success there in the past. What do you think, Devin?
No formal offers for this kid either going to the collegiate rank. Walk on at Indiana. And you're right, he is a St. Louis guy. Jack Mayer, Aiden Stanley, he kind of got lost in translation, and so they used him wherever they could. Because of that, so you're going to love this. The center back spent a lot of time in the 6. Yeah. Drop him onto the back line. Even Todd Yeagley this year, they used him in an advanced role where he's so good with his feet. You want him to be a student of the game. He's not a football junkie. He likes other sports. Todd Yeagley made the reference, head coach of Indiana, of I probably watched more tape by the age of 10 than he's watched in the entirety of his career. But he's physical, he's tall, he'll go win set pieces down in the corner. He's a leader by example, not vocal. This is a guy, though, back-to-back defensive player in the year, first time ever in the history of Indiana.
I got to tell you, these reaction shots never get old. Just love to see that moment for these young men. You see them surrounded by family and friends, and in Mooney's case, his teammates at Indiana, coaching staff, absolutely wonderful. Still, Herbert Enderle waiting for his name to be called as well. Okay, on to the number 11 pick. That is Nashville SC. They've seen value in the draft before as well, Doyle. There are some rumors that they might be opening a DP spot. Tom Bogert reporting there's discussions with Mazatlan in the Liga MX about Ake Loba. We'll wait and see on that one. But as it stands, we have a team that has an opportunity to make a big selection here at number 11. But let's take a look at our first 10 picks as we've seen it so far. Number 1 to Charlotte, Hamadi Diop. G out of Clemson. Orlando, Shaq Muhammad out of Duke. Moise Bombito out of UNH, another GA to the Rapids. Joshua Bolma out of Maryland. JC Ngando out of UNC Greensboro to Vancouver, who traded into that pick. Pinch me if I've said that before. Duncan McGuire, Orlando at 6. Elijah Paul goes to RSL. He has connections with the 7. Stephen Afrifa at 8. Owen O'Malley and Daniel Mooney at 9 and 10. What is the pick you like the most so far? Just jumps off the page. You say, I like that player. It's a good destination.
You know, Devin spent the past couple of days talking about Hamidou Diop, like the whole time. So I like that Charlotte apparently were listening to you, and they saw a guy who they thought was 100% worthy of being the number 1 pick. And if that guy happens to be a left-footed center back who can carry the ball upfield, who can help tilt the field a little bit, checking a lot of boxes.
Joke's on you, by the way. They bugged my room.
Yeah.
That's what you'd like. That's what you'd like people to believe.
That's right. That's right. Just sliding the information across, guys. Yeah. Here's the 411 on Hamidou Diop.
All right, excuse me, guys. Sorry. We're waiting for this pick from Nashville, but let's talk about the team that has the reigning MVP, Doyle, Hani Mukhtar. And just as I say that, the pick is in. All right, with the number 11 overall selection in the 2023 MLS Super Draft presented by Adidas, Nashville SC select a defender from Klinsmann, a Generation Adidas signing Joey Skinner. He is the selection. That's a left back, I believe, for them. Devin, what's the scouting report on Joey Skinner?
When you think Nashville, just to relate it together, when you think Nashville, you think the ability to drop in defensively, the width play, outside wingbacks, right? Alistair Johnson on the right, what used to be in his departure, Joey Skinner on the left, very comfortable on the attacking side of the ball, likes to be in high positions. The way that he played at Clemson with Mike Noonan, a lot of rotation within that system. Not knocking other collegiate programs, but he asks you to play. Whether the ball's on the deck, the inverted winger, Joey Skinner comfortable of all of that. An interesting path. UNCG, the transfer ends at Clemson. Clemson comes calling. It's kind of hurt to say no. Gary Smith looking at him going, what can I get out of this kid on both sides of the ball? Defensively, would like to see some more out of him.
Yeah. It's interesting just because, as Devin said, they ask you to play at Clemson, and they don't necessarily ask that of their fullbacks at Nashville. Gary Smith likes fullbacks who go end line to end line and can whip in a good cross. Now, he has the ability to do that with that left foot of his. He is young, so he can be shaped. This is a kid who will probably spend a good amount of next season playing MLS Next Pro Ball, which is actually true of probably the first 11. Everybody taken in this draft probably going to play a lot of MLS Pro Ball next year. But it's a good landing spot for him. Left backs don't grow on trees. And that Generation Adidas contract means he's got a couple years to develop into the type of left wing back or left fullback that Gary Smith likes in Nashville.
I would say the thing about Nashville that I really like as well is they take stock in their players that are coming in, right? Even if they're not going to be a starter reserve, and we're gonna give you an opportunity. Donaciano is one that I look at. Again, to your point, he hasn't stepped into that system right away. That's fine. But they knew what he was capable of, so they gave him an opportunity. He's not a forgotten soldier. He's going to get the same option right there on the outside back spot, learning the different systems. When you've played free-flowing in that kind of system, and now maybe you need to lock down a little bit more in certain areas, but we still want you to be really high. Again, you're going to hear that regularly from a lot of these college guys because they're not asked to do as much, or they're doing different roles at the next level. Evolve. Find a way. Survival of the fittest so that you can make a name for yourself there.
Nashville, obviously a playoff team last year led by their MVP, Hani Mukhtar. We still haven't seen a full season from Shaq Moore. They went out and got Fafa Picault. They like that piece in their team. They want to see a little bit more from CJ Sapong on the production front, but he does all the hard work for Nashville, and Zimmerman is back from the World Cup as well. So at number 11, a Generation Adidas signing out of Clemson, Joey Skinner goes to Nashville SC, and Colorado Rapids are on the clock, making their second selection in this first round. Moise Bombito was their first selection, and one of the big stories of the offseason are key players in for the Rapids, Doyle, and from different avenues. Cole Bassett, we know that name well. He went on loan to the Netherlands. It just didn't work out for him, and then he came back. We'll see what he is as he returns to MLS. Then Kevin Cabral needed a change of scenery, no doubt about that.
Yeah, change of scenery, maybe a change of finishing boots with it. The Rapids are who they are. They're going to try to find undervalued assets throughout the league. Cabral is clearly that at this point. Getting Cole Bassett back, I think, helps them. It'll help Cole Bassett, who had a kind of a miserable year trying to break through in the Netherlands. On paper, they look like a better team than they were last year, but on paper, they didn't look bad last year. They just played really badly after 2.5 really good seasons under Robin Fraser. They just lost their verve. Part of that was an injury to Jack Price. He's the guy who sort of holds them all together. And I thought because of that, Lalas Abubakar underperformed. They never really were able to replace Sam Vines at left back. They still have a glaring hole there. So you hear as I go down the list, we're checking off a lot of boxes, a lot of directions that they could go, a lot of places that they potentially need help.
All right. Jesse Zardes, by the way, leaving this offseason, a free agent for Austin. But Diego Rubio had a wonderful year, and Kevin Cabral comes in. They have to be thinking, look, the talent's there. We can get a lot more out of this guy. And Cole Bassett, we know he has a huge ceiling if he can realize it. All right, we are counting down here on the pick for Colorado. They've already made a selection in the Super Draft. At number 3, Moise Bombito out of UNH. He was a GA signing out of UNH, excuse me. Also, got news on him that he won't count as international for a variety of reasons, and a trade has come in. So ring your bell. Take a drink, your drink. Do whatever you got to do here. Charlotte have moved up to the number 12 overall selection in this Super Draft. They've sent $50K in GAM in 2023. There's conditional GAM as well as a first-round pick in the 2024 Super Draft to the Colorado Rapids. So the Rapids got theirs at number 3. They've now changed it up. Charlotte is on the clock. They will have to make a decision here. They obviously traded into number 1 for Hamadi Diop out of Clemson as well, the center back. A busy day for Charlotte. Clearly, they value this draft, Doyle.
Yeah, I'm looking through their depth chart now. Like all the stuff we said an hour ago is still true, right? This is a team that is still sort of thin in central midfield. This is a team that I think needs a little bit more depth up top. Either on either wing or number 9 as well. You could name at fullback. The one place where maybe not is center back, but you never know. Like if they see somebody that they like here, $100,000 worth of GAM, that's not a ton to go for a guy that you like.
Okay, we now have the pick at number 12. So with the number 12 overall selection in the 2023 MLS Super Draft presented by Adidas, Charlotte FC select a forward from Rhode Island, Patrick Aguiman. Patrick Aguiman from Rhode Island is your selection. Actually exchanged some texts with Patrick last night. He is a good guy, and I'm happy to see him land in Charlotte. 6'4", big body, scored a ton of goals, a Connecticut kid. Congratulations to Patrick.
Good job. It's just what I grew up around. I think my dad kind of put me in a position where he gave me the chance to play whatever I wanted to, and I tried a couple sports. I ran track, played volleyball. I also played football when I was like 6th grade, I want to say. But the people around me and my brothers, my family, it was always soccer. Like soccer was the one thing that stood out to me. And I wasn't this height my whole life, so I used to be a little smaller. So it was something that I enjoyed to do. And I think soccer was what really made me realize this is it. This is my passion. Yeah. So my parents are from Ghana. And it was hard for them, man. When they grew up, they wanted to make a way for their kids, which is me and my 2 brothers. So they worked hard, and man, they're like my heroes, man. My dad works multiple jobs, my mom the same, and they're always out. But they make a living for themselves, and they want us to be successful. And I think they set us up really well.
Here it is. Yes, sir, Patrick.
Okay, you said you owe a lot
Going
of people
to Charlotte.
some things for getting you to this point.
That is a special. They're filming it, baby. Patrick Aguiman, congratulations. Congratulations to you and your family. A first-round selection in the 2023 MLS Super Draft presented by Adidas. He almost caught his head right there on that beam. would have been an inauspicious start to his pro career. But Patrick Aguiman is a selection.
Best name in the draft, right? We can all agree upon that. Aguiman, that's our guy.
How about this? Best smile in the draft.
Best smile for sure. Best smile. Yeah, the height for me. Yeah. Really soft feet, height, quick, and I always wonder when you come out of a school like Rhode Island, when you've been challenged, like, what's your next goal going to be? Yes, getting drafted. That should be for anybody, right? Mm-hmm. But just such dedicated. You listen to him talk about himself and what the process is going to be moving forward. And, okay, I'm a pro. That's great. Let's go. Okay, I did this. I scored 20-plus goals. It's almost like nonchalantly he doesn't care in the best of ways because he's committed to the process. There are plenty of guys that have the talent. There are other guys who want to go work. This guy's got both.
Yeah,
that's certainly not a bad
It's a very nice combo, and with all the reports that Daniel
I was
Rios,
just gonna say,
yeah, might be on the way out. And Daniel Rios is a classic target forward, good in the air, good in the box, big and strong, and I'm talking about Patrick Aguiman there as well, aren't I? So it seems like if Rios is going out, then there's a chance for this young man to come in and earn some minutes, play alongside Karol Swiderski, who was a World Cup player, an international player for Poland. It's a good situation for him, especially because I really like the way this team played under Christian Lattanzio, and I think any young forward who's willing to come in and work and learn is going to have a good time in that system.
Yeah, you are also hearing those reports out of Argentina again. Rossing, their star Copetti, could be on the way to Charlotte for a club record deal. We will wait and see on that one. It is obviously not confirmed, not complete, but if you follow Tom Bogert, you are generally ahead of the curve on MLS transfers. All right, we are 12 picks down. Patrick Aguiman is our most recent pick out of the University of Rhode Island, a big, strong forward. Houston Dynamo had that 5th pick. They traded it to the Vancouver Whitecaps. They are now on the clock at number 13. Tell me what we should expect from Ben Olsen this year, Doyle.
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't. This roster, that it has some talent in it, but it doesn't really fit, and I think that's what we saw in the second half of last season. You mentioned it before, Weeby. Ache came in. This is one of the greatest midfielders in CONCACAF history. He came in, and the Dynamo got worse. And they weren't able to figure out how to use him and Coco Carrasquilla together in the same midfield with Matias Vera. I thought their 2 best attackers were Darwin Quintero, who's no longer here, and Ferreira in the second half of the season, but Ferreira doesn't necessarily fit with Thor Ulfarsson. Fafa Picault was a useful player for a long time. He's gone now. It feels like the start of a very complete teardown and rebuild, but I don't know if they have the time for that. I don't know what the pressure is like to get results this season. We've seen, coaches come in the past. We saw it last year. Paulo Nagamura came in, got less than a year with this Dynamo team. The pressure could be on Ben Olsen right away.
No doubt about it. Ben Olsen and Hernan Losada back in MLS. I'm not sure anybody would have predicted that at the beginning of the offseason, but here we are with all 29 spots filled in Major League Soccer as far as managerial jobs go. Houston Dynamo are on the clock. As I said, we are 12 down. We still have some Generation Adidas players on the board. Surely those are some that Houston might be taking a look at. I know cap situation and flexibility had been an issue for them for a while, which is why they traded Tim Parker, by the way, after the expansion draft to St. Louis City SC. As we wait for Houston, and here we are, as I see on the screen. I'm seeing a trade,
of course,
for the Houston Dynamo.
So this is the second time this has been traded, right?
That would be the case. We will see what it is here. A couple Texas teams doing business. Number 13 overall. Again, we change hands. Austin coming in. 50 in 2023, GAM 50 in 2024, and then the 27th overall pick will go to the Houston Dynamo. All right. There we have it. Another trade. How many can we do in a single day's action? I'm tired. I don't know if you guys are tired. We still have a whole second half of the draft to go, so I'll definitely keep these brain cells moving. And I believe we're getting ready for this selection as Austin does their due diligence in the background. And the pick is in with the number 13 overall selection of the 2023 MLS Super Draft presented by Adidas. Austin FC select a forward and Generation Adidas signing out of San Diego State, CJ Fodry. CJ Fodry is your selection. He's the youngest player in this draft out of San Diego State and played 5 games with the Loyal. Little raw, but he's got time to develop, and Austin are going to give him that time.
Another one of the unicorns. Yeah. Love that word today. We got a couple, though, right? Left-footed, number 1. 18, young, number 2. Unattached, number 3. All 3 of those for MLS teams they love. It's very difficult to compare him to anyone, and that's not just me saying that. That's just coaches talking about him. He's not a normal player. He's a winger. He's fast. He's tall. He's powerful. We talked a little bit about him early on that he's comfortable getting to the inside, but can he stay inside?
You could compare him to Breck Shea.
Yeah,
you want to compare him to Breck Shea?
No, but CJ's much more comfortable in the interior location. No, but now Breck, as he went through his career, I mean, we saw Breck play center back at some point in time, right? But you don't drop him deeper. This kid doesn't come deep. He knows what it means to get to work, and he knows what it means to be at the pro level. Yeah.
And he's 18, so they're going to, the very happy family right there. they're going to have time to mold this kid into the type of player that they want him to be. It is a flyer on upside. If you had a kid like this in your academy, you would be pushing him through to the first team in the next couple of years. So for Austin, whose academy is still getting off the ground, this is a way of filling that gap. And over the next couple of years, they're going to do everything in their power to turn this young man into a first-team player. It's a smart play for them to get this kind of talent.
7 goals, 4 assists in his freshman year at San Diego State. He was the Pac-12 Freshman of the Year and Pac-12 first team as well. Of course, played for Landon Donovan. What a place to start his career. Austin, we saw those crowds last year. We saw the success in year 2. They got Giassi Zardes, Devin. He's not going to be asked to play right away, but Austin are going to have expectations right away. What are the right expectations for the Verde and Black this year?
Think about coming in. They kept their core group of players, right? They were pretty set. You've got Aruti, Gite at the winger. Gallagher signs a new 4-year contract. That just came out. Stuver in goal. I mean, they've solidified themselves from a roster standpoint to kind of go, where do we want to get some help and have a little fun, right? You kind of get that with Fodry, and I'm sure Josh had a conversation with Landon Donovan and said, you saw him all the time. Tell me what he's like. I would say that when you start to incorporate him in, we talked about the versatility aspect of these players. He's one where on the other side, as a left footer, what can you do from the right, right? Because if I take you off the left flank and I bring you over to the right side, do you have the ability, not interchanging with players, can you attack to the interior with your left foot? There's a big difference when you're playing in build-up for me to tuck myself to the inside because the space is clogged down and to play off of, as compared to going over to the right-hand flank and challenging the interior of the field. That's a spot that you want to see this kid start to develop a little bit more. Again, not the 7, not the 11, not the 9. What is he? Austin don't need him to be anything right now. They have a good player with a ton of athletic ability, and they've got time to work with him.
All right, let's turn the page to Columbus Crew. They are on the clock right now with the number 14 overall pick. Missed the playoffs last year. That cost Caleb Porter his job. Their key addition. It's not a player, Doyle. It's a coach. Wilfred Nancy coming over from Montreal.
Yeah, Wilfred Nancy got my vote for MLS Coach of the Year in 2022. He actually got Jim Curtin's vote as well. Jim said when he received the award, he said, I would have voted for Wilfred Nancy, which tells you something about the job he did in Montreal. His ability to take that team, develop young players, win at the same time, create a very stylish team. They scored one of the best team goals of the season in their playoff win over Orlando City, so they did it at a high level, put guys into the Canadian national team, put guys onto the radars of some of the best teams in the best leagues in the world for Montreal. So that's what Columbus is getting. I think it's a sort of a different level of expectation in Columbus, though, because they went out and they spent $10 million for Lucas Zelarayan a few years ago. They won a trophy for that. They went out, they spent, I think, $10 million for Cucho Hernandez last year in the middle of the season. He came out gangbusters with putting the goal in the back of the net. They didn't win a trophy. They didn't make the playoffs. That's not going to cut it. This team wants 60 points and at least contention for something, and I think that is going to be the goal for them this year. I do think that they have the framework of a team that is capable of that. I don't see the depth. So I think that whoever they look at in this spot has a very good chance of getting on the field in 2023, especially given the way Wilfred Nancy is able to develop young players.
Had a very successful MLS Next Pro team last year as well. We saw Jason Russell-Rowe make the jump. Right now he's the depth behind Cucho at that number 9 position. If you're sort of tracking right now available players in this Super Draft, and there's more than 300 that were eligible. We've only gone through 13 so far. There are only 2 Generation Adidas players left on the board. 2 Generation Adidas players left on the board. That would be Burton Jakason, the winger out of Pitt, and Joey Apononu out of Bowling Green. Those are the only 2 left on the board. So we will see when those guys get taken, but obviously big upside there. We see that the pick is in for the Columbus Crew. And speaking of MLS Next Pro, we've got an interesting pick here. With the number 14 overall selection in the 2023 MLS Super Draft presented by Adidas, the Columbus Crew select a forward from San Jose Earthquakes 2 of MLS Next Pro, Maximilian Arfstein.
That's a wild card pick.
Yeah,
I can tell you right now. We're all sitting back going, wait a second here. How is this?
That might be history made.
Yeah, I've never seen that happen in the draft.
I think obviously that is history made.
It hasn't been around for MLS Next Pro. That's easy in terms of time. You were talking about the genetic makeup of this team. what is the system that's going to be played here? Because are they going to stay in the 4? Is he going to bring the 3? Are they going to play 5 in? He will give you the opportunity up top if you want to drop a 2 forwards. Drop him in there. Again, you already know what he looks like.
Right.
You've seen him enough within the MLS ranks. Versatile attacking player was something that I had down here. That's a kid where, depending on the system, where do you want to go in? Do you want to play him in 2 strikers up top? You want to go double 9s? If you're going to play in the 4-2-3-1, can he be a depth piece at the number 1 overall attacker? And yet, if you move away from the wingback spot, now we're staying in a 4, I understand that, but if you get away from the wingback spot, does he have the defensive abilities to drop off the 9 and then help out on the wing plays?
Yeah.
That all comes down to the system, though. We don't know what the system is going to be, but to your point, and we talk about the makeup again, still got Darlington Nagbe, still got Aiden Morris. That does give you the luxury in the center of the park to kind of tweak and do whatever you want because they're both comfortable in those spots.
I think this is a good time here to dig in a little on MLS Next Pro as we have this sort of historic moment. This is the first time I've seen this happen, Doyle. What can this league be? And it's so new. It's just a year in. What can this league be in the developmental pipeline that MLS teams are trying to create and are having a lot of success with? We're just seeing sort of the first trickles.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Jason Russell Rowe. Like, he's a great example of what that league can be and should be at its best, because he was not considered an elite tier prospect for that Toronto FC team. And then, of course, he went to Columbus Crew 2 last year, and he led them to a title, and he played his way onto the radar of the Canadian national team. And he played him up squarely to number 2 spot in the pecking order behind Cucho Hernandez. That is the high-level outcome. What it has to be to get there consistently is a high-level league. It can't just be a developmental league. It has to be one that, like, the best way to develop young players is put them into situations where they're rubbing shoulders with and going against seasoned pros every single week. If it's just 11 kids versus 11 kids, then you're talking about MLS Next. And it's good that that pathway exists, but crucial for MLS continuing to grow over the next few years is MLS Next Pro continuing to grow as well.
All right, keep an eye on that. Those games will be available on MLS Season Pass as well on Apple TV. Portland Timbers are 15 in this Super Draft, and they are on the clock here. The big one there is the key player in. They set a club record transfer, bringing Evander over from Scandinavia. Attacking midfielder, he's the number 10. They're going to lean on him. The Sebastian Blanco era is over, Devin. This is a guy they scouted extensively, that they spent extensively on, and big expectations are going to be on he and this Timbers team.
Numbers: 55 goals, 40 assists, 205 appearances all time. You're looking at a 50% mark rate. Not too shabby. Serie A, Serie B, and Denmark. Midtjylland is where he comes over from. Felipe Mora still there. Needs Goda up top. That depth piece, Evander comes over. That helps you out and takes some off of it. Can you keep Eric Williamson?
Right.
That's an interesting one. Kishan Paredes, what does that look like? There are a lot of questions here. Midfield depth. Again, depending on the offseason, they've already got a pretty good roster. They've got a foundation laid forth. What do you add to that?
Well, we will see what they'll add to that right now. The pick is in for the Portland Timbers. And with the number 15 overall selection in the 2023 MLS Super Draft presented by Adidas, the Portland Timbers select a midfielder out of Loyola Marymount, Noel Kalaskan. Noel Kalaskan is the selection for the Portland Timbers at number 15. What's your scouting report here, Devin?
Well, we just mentioned the midfield depth. He's got a growing curve here for sure in terms of consistency, but he does a great job breaking up plays. He's a ball winner. The ability to then progress it going forward. It's one thing to be a hard-nosed midfielder, old school like Roy Keane, go get stuck in, but what do you do after that? He goes from the back line forward, and it's the biggest jump that he's made going forward. Receiving on the half turn and getting it where to go. One of the best assets this kid has. So he can fight, he can get stuck in the nitty-gritty, but that half space where you play off of each other, really comfortable. In this system, that makes sense. You're moving quick, you're bouncing side to side, you're coming outside, you're coming in. A guy who's comfortable in these little half spaces, Kalaskan slides right in there.
All right, a guy who's comfortable in this particular space is the head coach of St. Louis City SC, Bradley Carnell. He's standing by with Jillian Sakovitz.
The fans are loving their manager, Andrew. Bradley, how cool are these events before there's even your first season?
Yeah, this is amazing. I mean, the last year has been incredible to work with the St. Louisans. You know, this is a new experience for me. And we hope we've sprinkled a little bit of the sauce of what we can do with the next pro guys. We were proud to bring silverware to the city of St. Louis in the first run out, so that was a big thing for us as well, just to set the culture, the identity. And then obviously now it progresses through the expansion draft as well as now the super draft. And we couldn't be happier with our number 1 pick that was Owen O'Malley. So this was...
Well, let's talk a little bit about that midfielder from Creighton. What drew you to him?
So when we speak about the positional profiles of what we are looking for, we're looking for really difference makers in certain positions as well as all-rounders. And I think Devin said it best. That was, it's a guy who can play in multiple positions. And for us, we do have a few ideas in mind. And we'll see how that develops over the preseason. But we're really excited to get to work with Owen.
Well, something else that you heard the guys mention was perhaps the need for a defensive midfielder for St. Louis City. What can you tell us about that type of player and filling up this roster?
Yeah, well, our front office, as well as Lutz, we're working hard behind the scenes, and I can promise you there is a void there that has been filled. It's not public yet, but we are in the makings of filling that void. But we just asked for a bit of patience with that announcement.
Well, one announcement that did come was yesterday's schedule announcement. We know everybody is excited for the home opener, for the season opener. But Bradley, what are some other opponents that you have circled on your calendar?
Listen, I think there's some big games, right? And obviously the opposition that's just across the way from us, for sure, are ones to be, reckoned with. We have some quick trips, Chicago, Sporting KC, Nashville's not too far, so we have some good opposition just around the corner, but we're really excited to be where we are, and we think that from a strategic, geographical point of view, that we're really well situated, being in the Midwest, so we're excited about the travel because we know how grueling that can be throughout the schedule, and we have some exciting, we're really excited about the season.
We are too. Well, Bradley Carnell, thank you so very much. And Andrew, we will be hearing more from Owen O'Malley, their draft pick, a little bit more in the show.
Wow, here it is. The noise in St. Louis. How about the noise in Salt Lake? We have the pick at number 16 for RSL, and with the number 16 overall selection in the 2023 MLS Super Draft presented by Adidas. Real Salt Lake select a winger out of the University of Pittsburgh, a Generation Adidas signing, Bertan Jackason. And guess whose name you evoked a little bit earlier? I'm going to let you walk it back if you want to. Take the expectations off this young man. You said Mbappe, a mini Mbappe, but that's what you said.
Well, first of all, he's French, so let's get that out of the way. Okay, there's the comparison. The profile in terms of height and speed is what you follow. A winger loves to cut in, loves to challenge you in one-on-one situations, almost to a fault at times. I always say about these kids, just because you can do something doesn't mean you need to do something. We know that he can beat players and that he's special on the dribble, that he can run by you, that you can combine. But you're going to have to be able to slow the game down as well. Defensively, he's also going to have to take another step here, depending on where they want to use him and what that looks like. If you're not high and you got to drop down deep, that's not an area that he was accustomed to. But we talked about Mike Noonan at Clemson. Jay Vidovich, the same thing at Pitt. They ask these kids to play. It's one of my favorite teams to watch around the country because of the way that they put the ball on the deck and ask you. They mess with your IQ. He is a very intellectual player. Once you get into the final third, what's your next decision? Yeah. Again, you've beaten everybody, sometimes 2 or 3 times. This kid, he has the ability to be a head turner in MLS. If he can apply his trade, be consistent in a game, that's a guy who a couple years from now you're going, how did nobody else take him? That's the kind of talent you're looking at.
And it feels like a little bit of a wait-and-see pick for RSL. They got Savarino on that right wing already. He has his time to learn and adapt and acclimate and get there, and he has a little patience on the salary cap side.
And they also have Real Monarchs, which does a very good job of shaping young pros into contributors for that first team.
All right, Orlando City on the clock at 17. They, needless to say, have had a very busy day. They had the number 2 overall selection, took Shaq Muhammad from Duke with that one, and then got Duncan McGuire out of Creighton with the 6. They're back on the clock at 17 as well. 3 selections for them in the first round. Oscar Pareja, Profe and the boys trying to figure out what they might do with this number 17 overall selection. We are a little more than halfway through. Ton of trades have gone down so far. We've had some transfer rumors popping in, all sort of news so far. Devin, so far, what is the headline for you? Is it just the busyness, the way teams are looking at these assets and saying, all right, we'll play games, we'll find a way to collect?
Let's be really, really clear here. When we come into negotiations to do the draft next year, we need a time clause. we thought last year's draft was long, but the movements, and there's a couple of things that you can look at when that happens. Number one, teams are unsure. They're not exactly sure who they want to go after. Number two, they have an idea, and that pick has been taken because of all the movement around him. You come into this process, especially in the first round, 2-3 guys. Who are the most important pieces that we can go get? With all the movement that we've seen, it's very understandable that those guys are moving before they even get a chance to select because of all the movement around MLS. It's not that big of a surprise to me.
All right, speaking of movement around MLS, we got some movement on the schedule front this year. We got the full slate. That's always fun. Here are some of the highlight matches from the opening weekend on Saturday, February 25th. Remember, you can watch it all on MLS Season Pass on Apple TV. What jumps out to you, Doyle? What's the big one?
Inter Miami versus CF Montreal, the two teams in various states of flux, but with, I think, very high expectations irrespective of that. Orlando City versus the Red Bulls. The Red Bulls make the playoffs year after year after year. Their fans have been waiting forever for them to take the jump and be more than just a playoff team. Orlando City kind of took a jump last year in winning the U.S. Open Cup, and we've seen them all day working to strengthen that side through the Super Draft, including this upcoming pick.
I love Austin FC, St. Louis City SC. That's a wonderful first road trip. I know a bunch of these people staying over here are going to get in their cars, get on a plane, and head down to Austin. That's going to be really, really fun. But we can all watch it in one place on Apple TV. MLS Season Pass launches on February 1st. All the games, no blackouts, all MLS, all the time. All right, we are on to pick 17 with Orlando, and that selection is now in. With the number 17 overall selection in the 2023 MLS Super Draft presented by Adidas, Orlando City select a defender from the University of Syracuse, Abdi Salim. Abdi Salim from the University of Syracuse. National champion. MLS Next Club is the Rochester, New York City FC team. Devin, you just called the national title game. Saw this guy in action.
I'll tell you, this is probably a little bit of a surprising pick, but you shouldn't be in terms of the versatility because of his ability to play in either a 3 or 4. Specifically on the left-hand side, though. He's left-footed, comfortable in both of those spots, and when guys vacate, he can step up and push off the back line, too. Doyle, I know you're a big fan of that. We look at the makeup of this team, and we talked about attacking options. They've added that. We looked for, they had the DP slot, which reports are saying that they fulfilled that. 6 and a little depth at the center back. Take this kid, let him learn behind Robin Janssen. Yeah. That's not a bad shot whatsoever. And he's good. The ball at his feet, he's great.
Yeah. Yep. Good players to learn from there. And Owen O'Malley will be learning from this St. Louis City SC coaching staff, and he will be adored, I'm sure, by these folks over here. Owen O'Malley caught up with Susanna Collins earlier after being selected number 9 overall by St. Louis.
Owen O'Malley, the number 9 pick in this year's Super Draft, going to St. Louis City SC, the brand new club in MLS. You're a part of history. How does that feel?
It's an unbelievable feeling. I don't really know what to think right now. I owe a lot of people some thanks to get me here, and I'm just ready for the start, and I'm ready for what's next.
Okay, you said you owe a lot of people some thanks for getting you to this point. Your professional soccer career is embarking now. Who are some of those people that have helped you along the way?
I just want to thank Johnny Torres, Ian Sarakin, Aiden Reynolds, Mitch Kavanaugh, Scott Bankers, everyone in Creighton community, my teammates for helping me get to this position in this place. It's an unbelievable feeling, and I owe them the world.
Oh, and I don't know if you've been watching this stream, but there's a bunch of St. Louis fans that have gathered at the stadium, which is going to be your new home. This is your chance. What would you like to say to these St. Louis fans, and what kind of player are they going to get to see in you?
I just want to say to everyone in St. Louis that we're going to bring some hardware home this year, and I can't wait to get started, and it's going to be fun.
Love it. Owen O'Malley, welcome to the Lou and welcome to MLS. Thank you so much for the time, and big congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Stars in his eyes. Silverware, he says. We'll bring it home to St. Louis. Year 1 starts against Austin on the road. Charlotte here at home. Owen O'Malley, the number 9 overall pick. Okay, the number 18 pick is in for Inter Miami. And with the number 18 overall selection in the 2023 MLS Super Draft presented by Adidas, Inter Miami select a goalkeeper out of Xavier, Cole Jensen, the first goalkeeper off the board in this Super Draft at pick number 18. Is this an impact goalkeeper? It's not probably the Roman Celentano camp, I would guess, but a guy who has the potential.
Start with the numbers, 0.89 goals against average in 18 games, 8 shutouts on the other side of that. Big East Goalkeeper of the Year. Let's get those accolades out of the way. Yeah. They speak for themselves. Doyle, I think you would probably agree with me that in terms of depth for this team, goalkeeper is probably an area that you could look into.
He's got to get into the club first.
Excuse me. Who's on the Death Star right now?
Look, Cole Jensen, you just listed off his accolades in college. He was very good for a very good up-and-coming program in Xavier. He's not going there to start. He's going there to win a job as a depth piece. Drake Callender is the starter. He earned that job. There is a competition behind Drake Callender to be number 2. This kid is going to get a chance to earn that job. He's probably going to end up playing some MLS Next Pro games. That's a pathway. Yeah. And this is a great moment for him. It's a great moment for every kid who had his name called so far in this first round. But Devin said it at the start of the show, man. The hard work is just beginning now. Right? This is the dream moment. It only gets harder from here.
I don't want to have this conversation, but it's the only pick that Miami has in this first round. We had maybe our hopes up, We had maybe dreamed of a future, a summer in which one Lionel Messi might have been joining him. And he might still. I don't want to end that possibility, but Fabrizio Romano reporting this afternoon that he will resign with PSG. That's a rough one, Doyle. Quickly on that, and then
Miami should be good regardless. This team, they did a lot of good work last year under Phil Neville. They have a nice foundation. Obviously now they have to look in a different direction for what they want to do with those open DP slots. But Chris Henderson's done really good work filling out that roster. I think he'll probably hit on some DP signings this offseason, even if one of them isn't named Lionel Messi.
No Messi, but that won't be in there. Won't be no DP signings for Inter Miami. Keep a close eye on that one. Minnesota United is on the clock right now at number 19. They've gone out this offseason, Devin. They filled a bunch of holes with some veterans. Eric Valentin's come in. Daniel Henry is into this team. They re-signed Arriaga, Rosales, et cetera, et cetera. What do you think of the season last year? Kind of snuck into the back end of the playoffs, and what they can do in 2023.
It's kind of fun. Loved Minnesota United and the way that Adrian Heath plays. Let's get that out of the way. And yet, within that, depth along the back line and outside back starter. Daniel Henry at center back was a really good one. Bakai Dibasi and his injury, that hurt them big time. And I like him along that back line. I wonder...
Just say it. Who's the number 9? That we can just say it.
Yeah, okay.
And
attacking. I didn't want to be that blatant.
And if it is Amaria, is he going to put up the numbers that they had sort of teased and said, hey, this guy is capable of that? That, to me, is the big question for Minnesota. Because they're going to create chances. Robin Love's going to create chances.
They've been chasing that for a while.
Reynoso's going to create chances. They have not found that guy up top, and they're not going to find him here either, but that's the big story.
Yeah, they've been chasing the 9 for a while, though, right? That's the argument that we've had for a couple of seasons, where even when they get going and get momentum, we've seen pockets. We've seen 6 of 11, 8 of 11, haven't seen the 9 take off.
Yeah. And guess what? Minnesota United have been scouting MLS Next Pro, and we are on to the number 19 pick in the Super Draft. So, with the number 19 overall selection in the 2023 MLS Super Draft, Minnesota United select out of Union Omaha, Ryan Jiba out of Union Omaha, a defender. And you said, look, they need a little bit of depth on that back line. They've gone for it. Can't say I'm familiar, but clearly Adrian Heath and his staff are.
Correct. Outside back, though, most importantly, because we just looked at the other side. I was looking at a right back starter, maybe.
Yeah.
Depending, with the Metnier situation and no longer. And I understand he was hurt for most of the year, but that's a left back. Love his foot. Jay Mims, we talk about teams that like to play. Circulation along the back line. Distribution from deep lying areas, combination play. Does this sound familiar when we talk about Minnesota United, right? And Adrian Heath's squad, like, can we go quick? Can we find our wingers on the counter? If not, can we slow it down and play? That kid can do it. I've seen him do it.
Yeah, get the ball to Reynoso, right? That is the formula, and then let's go. Take the space. And look, if he's good at that, then he will be a useful piece for this Minnesota United team. Though, should be noted, not many draft picks have hit recently for the Loons. Like, they need one of these kids to come through, because we saw what happened down the stretch last year when a guy like DeBasi gets injured. They don't have answers from within.
Okay, so one pick did, by the way, recently. It's Dane St. Clair. Okay, let's go to the floor. Jillian Sakovitz is there with the head of the supporters group, Matt Baker.
Oh, I was not expecting this. That's only because this group has been chanting St. Louis City for the last 2.5 hours. Thank you guys so much.
It's the St. Louis love.
Matt, I thought they would be chanting your name. We have Matt Baker, who's representing all of these amazing supporters here today of the St. Louligans.
I don't know about that. I'll do my best.
Matt, this is going to be one of so many historic events here at this stadium. How does this one feel to be kicking off the year like this?
It's pretty surreal. We had the expansion draft here, now the super draft. It's one of those once-in-a-lifetime things where you've been waiting so long to get a team, and now you get to hold these events here. It's just it's a dream.
Is it overdue for St. Louis to have an MLS team?
Long overdue.
Long overdue. Okay. When I was speaking to you earlier, you said that the St. Louligans is one of the old-school supporter groups. Tell me a little bit about you guys.
Oh, what year is it? I feel like we've been around forever. So, built ourselves up through the annals of U.S. soccer. So, from NASL to USL to MLS now, it's been a family supporter group just growing over the years. We've paid our dues. We've supported St. Louis soccer the entire time, from team to team to team. And it feels like this is the pinnacle. So, as much as St. Louis has deserved an MLS team, we've put in the work. We've spent this time supporting every single facet of St. Louis soccer.
What did you think about some of the teasers that the front office put out there, especially Bradley Carnell saying, we can't announce it yet, but we have something big brewing?
Oh, I mean, he knows how to get us going. That's what we live for. We want the teasers. We want all the news, the info. We try to speculate ourselves. We try to figure it all out. And when he drops a nugget like that, he's going to get us going crazy.
Now, St. Louis City is on the clock. Is there someone or a position you'd like to see filled here at number 20?
We hope that central defensive midfielder is coming, but I think we all want John Klein.
Oh. All right. Well, we will see if you are prophetic in just about a minute and a half. Matt Baker and all of you amazing supporters, thank you so much.
You know what? I gotta give him a round of applause for that. That is pure St. Louis. That's pure Midwest. Who do we want? We want a local boy. Give us a local boy.
He's a midfielder.
One of
they
our
need
own.
him. They need depth in the midfield.
One of our own. All right, St. Louis are on the clock here. This is from a previous trade into 20. Okay. St. Louis, what are you going to do? We are going to find out very, very soon. What do you think the right expectations are as we wait for St. Louis to make a pick? And I'm hearing it may be a timeout, so we got a little time to breathe here. What are the right expectations for St. Louis in year one?
I want to see what they do with the rest of that midfield before I give you a complete answer, right? Because if you look at this roster, the way it's been built, that is the glaring weakness. They don't really have a defensive midfielder there. Maybe that's what Bradley Carnell was teasing. They have Edward Lewin, who is a good box-to-box guy. They have a young Czech guy who I think they're looking at as a playmaker. Ostrak as a playmaker. So, some guys you could pencil in, but we've seen guys with very good pedigrees fail in MLS before. So I think they have the right idea because they have some MLS experience in terms of Coach Bradley Carnell, and they're adding pieces like Tim Parker, Jake Nowinski on the back line. So they have that foundation. It's too early to say exactly what the expectations should be other than clarity in how they play. That is obvious. They are going to be an energy drink soccer team. They're going to look like the Red Bulls.
Okay, so you see the clock wind down. Somebody buy me a whistle. We have a timeout by St. Louis City SC. Meanwhile, the number 3 overall selection in this Super Draft is Moise Bombito. He came all the way from Montreal, and he chatted with Susanna Collins about his selection.
Moise Bombito, the number 3 pick in the 2023 MLS Super Draft. You are headed to the Colorado Rapids. Can you describe what this moment feels like for you?
It's an exciting feeling for me. It's something that I dreamed about all my life, and I just can't wait to start.
I see a whole crew of people behind you. Can you tell me who you're sharing this experience with and what their reaction was?
It's a couple of my teammates, my coaching staff, and the people I've worked in a summer camp this past summer, and I coached like all of the kids that are there and their parents. So that's a really good support that they give me right now, and I'm loving it.
I mean, what a special moment for you. These kids are watching you embark on your professional soccer career. How does it feel that you are going to be such an important role model to these young soccer players?
Yeah, it's exciting because I have to show them that it's possible, even if they're really young and they really don't know what's going on right now. But growing up, they'll know that, yeah, I was coached by this guy, so I'll have to do what he's doing to go to the next level. So it's exciting, yeah.
I read something that your biggest inspiration, Moise, is your mother. So I want to ask you what her reaction was to you starting your professional soccer career.
Yeah, she's definitely buzzing right now. She's really excited. Like, I haven't seen her for a couple months now, so I'm going back to Montreal tomorrow, and when I'll see her, I think she'll cry. She'll definitely cry.
Oh, there's going to be some mama tears for sure. Yeah. Moise, congratulations. Thanks so much for the time.
Thank you.
Moise Bombito embarks on his professional career with the Colorado Rapids, and he does so with some little tykes having a good time behind him. I got to applaud the patience of those young men that were seeing that example. Well done to those guys. Moise Bombito, a generation to do this signing. By the way, out of the same academy in Montreal as one Ismail Kone. And what do you know? Ring the bell, take a drink, do whatever you've decided you're doing. We have a trade. Austin moving up into the number 20 overall selection in the 2023 Super Draft. They've sent $50,000 in 2023 GAM and some conditional GAM, depending on what happens, to St. Louis City. Okay, we have the pick as well for Austin FC at number 20. The pick is in. We will get to that in just 1 second, but Austin keeps moving up. And actually, I'll just give you the pick because we have it. All right, with the number 20 overall selection in the 2023 MLS Super Draft presented by Adidas, Austin FC select out of the University of Pittsburgh, a midfielder, Valentin Noel. Valentin Noel is the selection here. Good resume for Valentin Noel. Another Pitt player taken in this first round, Devin.
Mac Herman finalist a couple of years ago. All-American certainly doesn't hurt. He and Bertrand Jacquesson, by the way, combined for an ACC best 40-plus goals in the past 2.5 seasons. Always thinking, calculating. Another guy that you can slot in anywhere along that front line for Austin, who's looking for depth up top in general. At the number 9 spot, this is a guy who drops in. He doesn't really have a lot of question marks about him. Body fat, always going to be 4 or 5%. That's fine. His fitness is not really going to vary. He's always going to show up. He's always going to put in the work. Every now and then, he almost gets bored with games. I don't see that happening at the pro level, but it is something to keep an eye on in terms of the consistencies. He knows how to use his qualities to fit into a game no matter where he is on the field. Again, Jay Vidovich at Pitt likes to get his guys to play. This guy was certainly one of the best in the past 3 seasons in the NCAA.
Austin FC doing some business on this day. They moved up to select CJ Fodry, and now they've taken Valentin Noel. Let's take a look at our first 20 picks. We've got 9 more to go in this first round. The number 1 overall selection out of Clemson, a Generation Adidas signing from Dakar, Senegal. Hamadi Diop, the center back. Nice young center back signing for them. Top 5, Sheikh Mohammed, Moise Bombito, Josh Bolma, and JC Ngando. What sticks out in the top 10 for you here, Devin?
The Elijah Paul move is an interesting one, and you kind of knocked on it a little bit, Doyle, in a good sense of they got rid of him to go get him, right?
Yeah.
You let him leave your academy to then work him back into your system. Talented for sure. And so I think that move, it tells you that they see something in him. It is about the journey for a lot of these guys that we've seen. MLS Next Pro, yes, but if they don't make it right away, who's the next one up? We saw Duncan McGuire come off the board earlier this year. He's a late bloomer. He had 9 goals in his previous 2 seasons. Now, 23 and 24. Elijah Paul is another guy that if he continues to take the steps, can be a proven goal scorer at the professional level. If is the key question mark.
Yeah. The thing that jumps out at me, teams like Orlando and RSL, and now we're seeing it with Austin FC jumping in and trying to fill out their youth and depth via the Super Draft. Austin just traded, $50,000 worth of GAM and $50,000 more of conditional GAM for this pick. If they land someone, or for the previous pick, if they land in Valentin Noel, a kid who sticks around for 3 or 4 years, gives them depth at a low cap hit, like that is very good use of assets. That's very good and shrewd roster building, and they need that because, again, they're one of the teams that don't have that clear academy pathway right now, for one, and for two, they're going to be playing a lot of games. This is a CCL team. They're going to open the season with at least 2 games, as many as 7, I want to say, if they make a deep, long run. So they need these guys to hit. I think it's shrewd use of the Super Draft.
All right, the pick is in for the New York Red Bulls, and with the number 21 overall selection in the 2023 MLS Super Draft presented by Adidas, the New York Red Bulls selected goalkeeper out of Yale, Ilyan Haddock. Second goalkeeper taken, Bavarian SC. That's his MLS Next team. Watch that screen. You're going to see a lot of MLS Next clubs pop up. That's the pathway these guys are coming on. MLS Next, the college to the pros. Haddock goes to the Red Bulls.
Talent, not a question, and let's be really clear here. The Ivy's not getting enough credit for what they've been able to do. Massive, massive talent coming out of Yale. It is an interesting pick, though, because of all the goalkeepers that are out there. There are a ton of goalkeepers from the international spots and a ton of guys domestically that, Russell Shealy from Syracuse, people like to talk about. Elliot Hamill from Duke and what he was able to do. ACC goalkeeper of the year, yet led the nation in the goals against average. And yet, it's the unsung hero out of Yale. Kid's long, huge hands and wingspan, which I love. He can play a little bit with his feet, too.
Okay, big pick there from the Red Bulls, getting a goalkeeper. We'll see where he fits in on their roster. Of course, Red Bulls 2 has been very, very important for them as well. Let's go to another interview with Susanna Collins. She caught up with the number 5 overall selection, JC Ngando.
All right, JC, the number 5 pick in this year's MLS Super Draft. I have to ask, you win the award for most enthusiastic crowd behind you. Tell me who you are sharing this incredible moment with, all these amazing folks. Who you got there with you?
I got my dad, all my siblings, my stepmom, my cousins, and yeah, that's all. Like
Let's hear them. Make some noise, man.
Yeah.
How proud are you of this guy? Let's go. Yes. JC, I mean, this is the start of your professional soccer career. It all kicks off today. What does it mean to you to be able to share this with those incredible people behind you?
It means a lot because, like, coming to US, I wasn't expecting, like, being here today. So just have this opportunity to have the chance to play, like, the sport I like and be able, like, to get paid for is really, really, like, I'm really happy for, and I'm really happy to share this moment with my family and my friend.
Have you ever been to Vancouver?
No, never. But I heard it's a really pretty city. It's a really nice city. So I'm excited to be there.
It's stunning.
It's cold, but it's okay.
It's cool. Definitely a heavy jacket is going to be necessary, but you're going to love it. And did I hear right? Are you in Paris right now? Are you in France? Yes. You are in France. So you officially win the best setup. I think we're all jealous of you getting to celebrate this big day in Paris with your incredible family right now. How are you guys celebrate the rest of your time there?
I mean, it's pretty late right now. Like here is like 12. It's 12:20 right now, so I think we might celebrate tomorrow for the most. But tonight we just maybe enjoy the time, and that's all.
Well, JC, we are so grateful to you and your family for giving us your time today. Congratulations, enjoy this, and welcome to Major League Soccer.
Thank you. Have a nice one.
Thank you. Bye, guys. Bye, fans.
What a wonderful young man. What a wonderful family. What a wonderful moment. They're going to have to figure out how to rack up those frequent flyer miles going from Paris all the way to Vancouver. We do have the number 22 overall selection in. So with the number 22 overall selection in the 2023 MLS Super Draft presented by Adidas, FC Cincinnati select a defender out of Bowling Green, a Generation Adidas signing, Joey Apononu, the final Generation Adidas player off the board here at 22. Fully half the picks, Devin. Cincinnati go get a center back. That does not shock me in the least. Ian Murphy picked up the center back in the draft last year. I think number 14 overall. Played a ton. Joey's got to be feeling some relief, and he goes to an up-and-coming team that has a need at center back. What a great spot to land.
I'm going to do you one more. It's his 21st birthday.
Oh.
Happy birthday, buddy.
And he's staying in Ohio.
What an incredible present.
Staying in Ohio,
you get to stay
boy.
home. Eric Nichols, his coach at Bowling Green, saw him at 8 years old, and they just kind of kept tabs on him. This kid, passing range. That's what you want to keep an eye on here. The kid can play. It's uncanny that he had never coached a kid with this kind of range coming off the back line. He's your quarterback. He can break lines, so watch that, because when he steps, you don't always need to do that. Keep an eye there. I do like the fact that the drive for this kid. Last year, there were talks about him coming out. There were talks about him coming into the draft or an opportunity for USL contracts, and he said to coach, no, my entire goal next season is to come back and get a GA contract. He's done that. He's gotten drafted. Happy birthday, buddy.
Happy birthday. He's a Ohio guy, went to school in Toledo, now stays in Cincinnati, an up-and-coming team. What a wonderful day for Joey Apononu, and it might have been a little bit of a nervous day for a while there, as he was the last GA to be on the board. All right, let's talk LA Galaxy. They are selecting at number 23 overall. Martin Caceres, we expect to be back. His option was exercised, of course, with Uruguay at the World Cup. He was a big defensive addition. They do have some sanctions in the summer. They're not going to be able to bring in players from outside the league. They lost some GAM. They recouped that GAM because they went and they sold or traded Kevin Cabral to the Colorado Rapids, Doyle.
Yeah.
This offseason, Greg Vanney's got the keys, and they need to be driving toward a trophy. There's just no doubt about it given this roster.
Yeah, there aren't a lot of holes in this roster. It's a very good team that played some borderline great soccer last year once Ricky Puig got into the fold. And, that's what it's built around. It's built around him and the two other central midfielders, Mark Delgado and Gaston Brugman. That is what is going to make them go. Obviously, the big move for the Galaxy this offseason is going to be what they do with that now open DP slot with Kevin Cabral gone. I think it's pretty obvious that they're going to go sign a DP caliber winger of some sort, whether it's a right winger or left
in this
winger.
window.
Yeah,
certainly.
It clearly has to be done in this window. What they do with this pick here, I don't think it's going to tip us off into anything bigger. I think this is just going to be whoever is left, regardless of position, whoever is top on their board that's left.
What did you make of moving Kevin Cabral, Devin?
Talent, yes. We kind of talked about this behind the scenes, that Kevin Cabral, right place, right time, couldn't finish. Always so dangerous and gets you into the spots. He stretched the games. He can slow it down. Kind of gave you everything you wanted except the statistics, which this team needed. Now, up front, Chicharito Joveljic, that wasn't a problem whatsoever. Doyle just talked about the midfield. They're going to be just fine within the midfield. I kind of look a little bit more reserved onto the back line, maybe helping the center back spot, given what we've seen historically there. And some of the movements, Zavaleta, he's no longer going to be there. I kind of like that, but Puig, you nailed that.
Yeah.
As the season went on, this kid locked that spot down. It made them more expansive because they kind of became a little bit bland at times because other areas weren't producing. He gave you that push.
Ricky Puig, a player to watch. If you're thinking about, do I want to watch not my team? Should I get Apple TV? Should I get MLS Season Pass? You should, just for Ricky Puig. Okay, a guy who won't have Ricky's profile but could make an impact in his first year. Let's get to the selection with the number 23 overall selection in the 2023 MLS Super Draft presented by Adidas. The LA Galaxy select a forward out of Central Florida, Gino Vivi. Gino Vivi out of Central Florida is the selection for the Galaxy. Congratulations to Gino. A decent crop of forwards to learn from. One Chicharito and Dan Jovic, who's pushing for playing time.
How was your winter? It was good. I'm going to go play with Chicharito. Love his feet. And to complement what we were just talking about, what you're seeing right now from exterior in. Yeah. So Cabral, gone. Friendly reminder, behind him, you also lost Cameron Dunbar. Not that he was a necessity piece, but it is depth, right? This kid is kind of that piece that could be there. It's the exact spot that we were just talking about, that he can step in, soft feet, one-on-one, beat you to the end line, and provide distribution coming back in.
And this kid's CONCACAF. He came through the system at Deportivo Saprissa, right? So he has trained at one of the, he was brought up by one of the great clubs in the history of this region. He has played for the Costa Rican U20s. So this kid has a bit of a pedigree. It's always a long shot to make the first team roster when you're drafted around this point when you're picked around this point in the draft. But that's what Los Dos is for. And if this kid produces for Los Dos the way he produced in college, look, the Galaxy have a need, man. They need more wingers. He's played on the wing. He's been pretty good. Things can happen.
Dallas on the clock here. I do want to say interesting full circle moment there. Mikey Stevens in the draft room for LA Galaxy, and here's that FC Dallas draft room as well as they prepare to make their selection at number 24. All right, let's get to another interview with Susanna Collins here in just a second after we take a look at Dallas's offseason so far. Third in the West, a great season for them, maybe exceeded expectations in Nico Estevez's first year. Jose Mulatto coming up. We talk about those two teams. He was with North Texas, a Colombian with a good record in with the lower division team, and then free agency, Sebastian Ibeagha in after starting MLS Cup. Okay, let's get to that interview with Daniel Mooney, taken 10th overall by San Jose. Susanna Collins had a chance to catch up with the Indiana center back. I don't have the pick. All right, we're waiting for the pick from FC Dallas. All right, we have the pick for FC Dallas with the number 24 overall selection in the 2023 MLS Super Draft presented by Adidas. FC Dallas select a midfielder from Indiana, Herbert Indley. Herbert Indley is the selection for FC Dallas. We learned about his story earlier on in the show, and what a story it is. He is headed to Frisco. What do you make of the selection there, Devin?
Yeah, work rate. We talked a little bit about him earlier, and if you're just joining us, he's got plenty of speed. Found a home on that right-hand flank for the Hoosiers. You know, what I look at him isn't 1v1. It's not playing a combo. It's once you continue to stretch, can you make that final pass? That's probably the biggest knock on Indley right here, but he's willing to work towards it. He can get, we just talked about Kevin Cabral.
Yes.
Some of that actually reminds me a little bit because he beats you over and over and over again, and yet that last piece of finesse just missing, but a big game player. Doy, you mentioned it's kind of difficult for some of these guys to make a roster. He's going to do everything again. He's got the IQ to do it. He'll work hard.
He'll work hard, and he'll work as a right back, I think. Like, this screams position swap at the MLS level. We've seen Dallas do a lot of that over the past 2 years. Guys like Eddie Mujama, Emmett Chouamasi, they've taken a lot of college wingers and made them right backs in Dallas. Of course, league-wide, DeJuan Jones is the high point of that. The other thing I want to mention, 29th or 28th pick last year in the first round was Siki Nsabalin. Dallas took the guy 28th last year in the first round. He still got onto the field for about 1,500 minutes. If you're good enough, you will play for FC Dallas. And Indley's got a shot.
Slide that right in. Reggie Cannon to Boa Vista. Brian Reynolds to Roma.
Yeah, right back.
Didn't work out. We need a right back.
Right back for FC Dallas is not a bad place to earn a living these days.
And it's not a bad place to be in Herbert Indley's living room. They were having an absolutely wonderful time when he got selected. So happy for the young man and happy to see people enjoying these moments so much in this 2023 MLS Super Draft presented by Adidas. Okay, on to the 25th pick here. RSL have it. You might remember that Montreal previously had it. Here was the trade that sent Aaron Herrera to Montreal on the 25 in addition to 500,000 GAM as well as a 2023 international roster spot to RSL. So RSL been doing some big-time movement today. They've already taken two players, two GAs. Elijah Paul, who had a connection to their academy, didn't quite qualify as a homegrown. They took him number 7 overall, traded into that spot, picked up the pick from Atlanta, and then with their 16 selection, Bertan Jackason from Pitt, the GA winger they took as well. So at 25 here, they've sent Aaron Herrera to Montreal, and now they have a selection. What did you think of the Herrera move? We didn't really get to dig into that too much, Doyle.
Whew. Aaron Herrera is real damn good, man. Like he's a really, really good soccer player in Major League Soccer and has been for a long time. I know last season wasn't his best, but I think in 2021, did we have him in our extra time best 11 at the end of the season?
I believe we did.
We might have. And he did it while playing as a wingback and playing as a left center back because Pablo Mastroeni was switching between a 3 and a 4. He was very good at each
sounds a lot
spot.
Like some guy named Alistair Johnson.
It sure does, doesn't it? So he fits a need very clearly he fits a need for Montreal. For RSL, look, I get if they feel like they need to move on, and
he was very well paid.
He was very well paid for a fullback. Andrew Brody gave them a lot last year as an overlapping fullback, both on the right and the left side, and I think this year he projects more as a right back because Oviedo's there. They have some kids coming up at that spot behind Brody, I guess, now, because I got him penciled in as a starter. It's a tough one. It's a tough one to swallow, I think, for RSL fans because I'm not sure any of those people I just named are as good as Aaron Herrera. And it feels like, given how much GAM we've seen thrown around, maybe it's a little bit low for how quality the kid is.
Well, we'll see what they do with that GAM. We'll see what they do in the transfer window as well. That is not yet open, but we have the 25th selection. So with the number 25 overall selection in the 2023 MLS Super Draft presented by Adidas Real Salt Lake, select a forward from Cornell, Amika Inley. Amika Inley from Cornell is the 25th selection in this Super Draft, Devin.
A menace.
A menace.
Any coach that was matched up against this kid was a menace. The national champions, Syracuse, lost 2 games this season, one of which was to Cornell, and it was because of this kid. He flat out beat them. He works you to death. I love his positioning. He is great about understanding where the pressure is coming from and then spinning off. Okay, we can talk about feet and speed and all that stuff, but if you don't know where the pieces are around you, that's one of the most difficult things to do, and I loved his position. He was great. He moves along the back line. He challenges you as a center back because positionally, when you're passing a player on, communication has to be at his best. But if he steps forward, then where does it go? This kid does that. So he makes you work as a center back on your brain, and physically he challenges you as well.
And I just want to make the point, they've made 3 draft picks, RSL have, in the first round now. Elijah Paul, Bertrand Jacquesson, and now Enley. 3 guys who can move. And if you look at the game model that they have under Pablo Mastroeni, it's all about overload one side, big switch to the other flank, get a guy in isolation, and have him go at a center back, or go at a fullback, excuse me. They did that really well last year. I think all 3 guys fit sort of the business end of that game model. I'll say it again, if they perform, they will find their way onto the field. They certainly have in Jasper Loffelson. They have a great example of that last season.
All right, 3 selections for RSL. We're on to the 26th pick. New York City FC are on the clock right now, 3rd in the East. We're not able to defend their MLS Cup title, but had a good season nonetheless. Out, Anton Tinnerholm, Gideon Zalalem, Matias Pellegrini. We don't have it listed, but CL Merlo down in South America is reporting that the captain, Maxi Morales, may be on the move. That's not what they'll want to be thinking about in that draft room, Doyle.
Yeah.
That is potentially big news. It's not confirmed. We haven't seen it confirmed, but there have been rumblings he wanted to be back at Racing.
Yeah, well, you're not going to find a replacement for Maxi Morales with this pick. You're not going to find a replacement for Santi Rodriguez if he doesn't come back with this pick. What they did last year was get a kid in Kevin O'Toole who gave them really valuable minutes down the stretch as sort of a left-back, left-wing-back hybrid, very good pressing player, very raise the floor type player, or keep the floor high type player, someone who doesn't take a lot off the table. He's not going to win games for you, but I think that's what hitting at this spot
100%.
In the Super Draft look like. And for NYCFC, they were one of the best teams in the league last year. Suddenly they're thin almost everywhere. We didn't even mention Alex Collins. He's not resigned yet. Sean Johnson not resigned yet either. Like they have some holes to fill, and they have shown just last year that they're willing to look down the depth chart to fill them.
Well, there's free agency for you, Devin, and we've seen a number of guys move around in that and holes be filled by free agents. But if you're NYCFC, you've got to be looking across the table at Collins and at Sean John and saying, we need you back. We don't need 4 starting holes to fill. Sante Rodriguez might be gone too.
Yep.
Well, we got to keep this core together.
Well, the goalkeeping side of things is just like Orlando. Galese can't go. Sean Johnson can't go. So that gets that out of the way. The argument coming in was probably going to be attacking players, specifically the attacking midfielder spot and the 9 before the day started. And now we lose Maxi Morales, so that just gets a little bit more questionable. I want to revert back to the beginning of this draft. When we brought you here hours ago, thank you for the raise, by the way, on overtime, because we're going to submit that on the time card. We talked about versatile attacking players. I'm not saying they're going there, but that is a spot that they could chase here a little bit, or the ability to get help in some midfield spots, which you talked about earlier.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, the pick is in for New York City FC. It's a familiar name with the number 26 overall selection in the 2023 MLS Super Draft presented by Adidas. New York City FC select a midfielder from the University of Maryland, Malcolm Johnston. Malcolm Johnston is the pick here. He was a real, you mentioned menace on the last guy. He was a menace in college. He's a big-time player, and he comes from a good pedigree. His brother, Alistair, just sold to Celtic from Montreal after playing in the World Cup.
Another Vaughn guy. Vaughn seems to be doing quite well for themselves.
Doing
by the
all
way.
right.
You can invest there. Sasha Swarovski at Maryland talked about liking what he saw in general, and that he's definitely taken a step. 6'8", 10". He was a 7'11" that played out of a position the first year, but he is a true box-to-box player that can defend. He's tough as nails, 100%, and he's an athlete. So the question is, if he's comfortable out on the wings and he's okay playing in the middle and he's an athlete, are we following in his brother's footsteps and moving him to the outside?
Yeah, it's a really good question. But if you look at the layout of this roster right now, about the one position where they have some sort of depth is outside, right? The 7 and 11, you mentioned that. They have plenty of depth there, even with the departure. Right back, they have Tajon Gray and Andres Jason, 2 academy kids who have come through and given them good minutes. They don't have anybody in central midfield, man. Like, they do not have almost anyone. We didn't even mention Cacha Acevedo because it looks like he's gone as well. So, they need depth in central midfield. Malcolm Johnston seems to fit the bill.
Did you see the jersey on the wall, by the way?
I missed it.
There was an Alistair Johnson jersey hanging on the wall. I think we're going to need an NYCFC Johnston to put up next to that one. Canada, regalia, everywhere. Okay, Houston have this pick at 27. They picked it up from Austin. It's been a busy day. Just to remind you, because I know I need reminding, this is how that pick got there. Austin received the 13th overall pick from Houston. They used that to pick up, CJ Fodry, and then there was a $50K in GAM in 23 and 24, and then the 27th pick heading to the Houston Dynamo. They are now on the clock with this selection. They've been content to make some trades down. Remember, they had that number 5 overall selection as well. That went to the Vancouver Whitecaps. Then they traded out a 13-2, and it sounds like we may have another trade coming. So,
ring the bell.
As we wait, Pat Onstad, thank you, sir, for making this very complicated when it comes to the Houston Dynamo. As we wait for that, we have Philadelphia, we have Vancouver left to go with the 28th and 29th pick. We have Toronto, LAFC, Chicago, and also Montreal, who did not have picks in this first round. I will remind everyone at home, our broadcast will end after the first round. There is a second and third round. There are 88 picks overall, a conditional pick at the end of the third round as well. That coverage will be at MLSsoccer.com, and we now have the details of this trade at the number 27 overall pick. Houston are going to receive $50K in 2023 GAM, just kind of hoovering up the GAM, moving down the board. Columbus are going to pick up the number 27 overall pick in the 2023
Think they'll trade it again?
Super Draft presented by Adidas. Don't say things like that to me, okay? Just, you know what? Like, don't tempt fate.
We got another timeout. Why not?
Tempt fate. He
They're all
doesn't have
on
a
the fire.
timeout. Somebody take a timeout as we wait for Columbus to get their selection. And excuse me, it is in, so we can give you that right now. With the number 27 overall selection in the 2023 MLS Super Draft presented by Adidas, the Columbus Crew select out of the University of Dayton a defender, Xavier Zenge. He is the selection for the Crew. They're staying in Ohio. They definitely scouted him close to home, Devin.
Speed, very, very quick. Again, another one of the ones that kind of goes under the radar, kind of like the kid from Cornell. A lot of speed. Love his vision. Head always on a swivel. Has the ability to understand from which direction play's coming, move in, move out. Physical side was something for me that I watched a little bit and felt like that could have been better, but certainly possesses the traits. There's no doubt about that. This is a kid who, you talk about MLS Next Pro, I do see him getting an opportunity in a pathway to pro, and that's probably the best spot for him. Just wants to play.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Makes more sense in a back three than in a back four, don't you think?
Yes,
outside?
100%. Yeah, absolutely.
And, you know, the 27th pick in the first round of the draft isn't going to be a tip-off of what Wilfred Nancy's master plan is for how the team is going to play. There are obviously players on that roster who are more valuable to the future of the crew, but, like, start seeing little things like this where it's like, okay, he actually is little more comfortable probably in a 3 than a 4. It's like, start to think, okay, maybe Wilfred Nancy is going to say, you know what, I know you guys built for a 4-2-3-1 last year, but we're going to the 3-4-2-1 that served us so well in Montreal.
You know what, if Pat Onsad's had a busy day, thank you again, Pat, for making this difficult for me. You know who I figured would have a pretty calm day is that entire Philadelphia Union front office. They're on the clock at 28. Normally when we get to this point, we're saying, well, who are the Philadelphia Union trading this pick to? And if I had to guess, they're calling around seeing if they can do it.
Normally they've already traded it.
That's true. They come into the day completely relaxed and have to make the phone calls. First in the East, tiebreaker lost some supporters shield. They got it the year before. They go out and they, via trade, get Andres Pereira Doyle to fill in some holes in the midfield. There's not a ton of questions here.
I mean, they're one of the best teams in the region by definition, based upon what they've accomplished over the past couple of years.
I don't see Ernst in that.
I don't
see Ernst.
Yeah, they are not going to make or break their season with this pick right here. And over the past few years under Ernst Tanner, they have really shunned the draft. But let's remember, Jack Elliott was arguably the best player on the field during MLS Cup up until the very last touch of the ball.
Third rounder, if I recollect?
77th overall in 2017.
International status scared some teams off.
Right. Same with Jasper Loffelson last year, who I neglected to mention when we were talking about replacing Aaron Herrera at right back for RSL. There's talent in the draft. Even at this spot. We see it every year. Somebody slips, somebody's available. Doesn't always get the right fit or opportunity, but we've seen lightning strike for this Philadelphia Union team in the past, specifically with Jack Elliott.
Can I switch it up, too? Because I was there when Andre Blake was selected. I was literally at the draft table. He's okay, too. He went number 1. That's not what this is, and that's not what the future, Devin, of the Philadelphia Union is. They can find it in the Super Draft, but they are finding it within the borders of their homegrown territory, and they are as good as anybody in MLS at turning that talent into both production as well as transfer fees.
So let's take that conversation and circumvent it with the MLS Next Pro argument, right? Philadelphia Union a couple of years ago, they said, we're going to go as young as humanly possible, and we're going to promote the heck out of these kids, and they've certainly done that. Those children have certainly risen to the ranks, one by the name of Brendan Aronson, who's now playing for the United States men's national team.
Say the other Aronson.
There you go. Yeah, the other one who
on Eintracht Frankfurt. Yeah.
There we go.
We don't even need to play for our first team.
So they are literally ahead of the curve in the growth pattern because they went super young early on. So a lot of these young men that are in MLS Next Pro probably won't be there for very long. We talked earlier about guys being versatile, guys moving to the outside back spot, and defenders that could be available within this. Kai Wagner possibly on the roof. Matt Real can slide in there if necessary, though if you probably talk to that team, expectations not necessarily fulfilled for Matt Real just yet. Liam Flock can slide in. They just signed Anton Sorensen there. With all of that, kind of screams defender to me.
All right, well, it screams timeout in my ear right now. So let's get a little insight from a local kid. That's Daniel Mooney, San Jose draft pick at number 10. Susanna Collins caught up with him earlier.
Daniel, the number 10 pick, you are headed to San Jose. Can you show off the scarf that's around your neck right now?
Let's go.
Looks great on you. How does it feel?
It feels good. I mean, it's a dream come true to go play in MLS soccer and go to San Jose, a wonderful place. And I'm just so thankful for everyone who got me here, family, friends, teammates, coaches, all the coaches, all my teammates that I've had, and especially my family who helped me get here. And Indiana University as well that helped me get here. And there's so many other people I can thank that helped me get to this opportunity.
So you're at Indiana University right now. You said that as the news came in, you were in the locker room surrounded by a whole bunch of people. What was that scene like?
It was amazing. I mean, all these people have helped me get here, and to have them by my side, everyone's just so proud of me, and I just couldn't thank them enough. And it's just a wonderful opportunity. I'm super excited to get started.
Daniel, I was doing a little research on you, and I know it hasn't always been easy for you. You've had to overcome some adversity, maybe potentially getting a little overlooked in some cases, but you found your way to a university, and now you are about to embark on a professional soccer career. Can you just kind of describe what that journey has been like and what this moment means to you?
It means the world to me, and I'm just so thankful for Indiana University taking the chance on me and helped develop me to the player I am today. And I'm thankful for San Jose taking a chance on me now, and they won't be disappointed.
Love it. Daniel, congratulations. Enjoy the moment.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Dun, 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 dun.
Do we have the rights to that or no?
Well, didn't think about that, but you're right. Maybe I'll draft in the Super Draft. Maybe there's a rights draft after this. Philadelphia on the clock at 28. They've taken a timeout. We have just 2 more selections here in our live draft show. And a reminder, the second and third rounds will occur after this. There inevitably are some passes in those rounds, but some young men will learn their fates there in their teams. MLSsoccer.com and the Draft Tracker is your best bet for following along with the second and the third rounds of the Super Draft. Oh, it's been a wonderful day in St. Louis. The lights are on behind us. You can see that beautiful green field. Beers being consumed. Some guys seeing some trades going around wearing that beautiful new home kit. We're almost to the end of this first round. As you think about St. Louis and MLS next year, Devin, what jumps to mind? What jumps to mind when you think about that first game against Charlotte?
I've got to say it because they're all standing over there, and I don't want to get run out of this building. I do think success, though.
Yeah.
I know you've got some questions in midfield. I don't disagree. I like the blend of the roster. I think that, look, you go get a really good goalkeeper. You've got a good 9. You've got an attacking playmaker. You've added some domestic depth, guys who are experienced within MLS. You know, in the front office, we've seen success from those guys. They understand what it takes to win. They've also added some local flair from the MLS Next Pro in St. Louis City, too. I like the blend of the roster. Yes, get a holding midfielder and all of that spot, but I do expect success for them. We've seen that growing curve tighten itself a little bit for these franchises in their inaugural year.
No matter who's on the field, though, look what they get to play. What a wonderful building this is. I love the roof design. I love the fact that when you walk in the doors, every single person, the first view they have is of that green pitch out below you because they buried it underground. The training facilities next door, it's downtown. Schlafly Brewery is just around the block if you want to get a beer afterwards, which I think we are definitely going to be doing after this. But the pick is in right now for the Philadelphia Union. All right, let's get to that one right now. With the number 28 overall selection in the 2023 MLS Super Draft presented by Adidas, the Philadelphia Union take a goalkeeper from High Point, Holden Trent. Third goalkeeper to go in this first round of the Super Draft. Holden Trent is the selection. Devin?
Yeah, very rangy, athletic, long, a top shot stopper. Great. Like excellent with the ball at his feet. Needs to be a little bit more commanding coming off of his line, but he does have a presence. My biggest argument for him, and you're going to see it in the video here, he's got to get a little bit bigger, a little bit too lean. You add 15, 20 pounds of muscle, which you can totally do. He understands it because he will go up and rise to anything. Shot stopping, yes, but coming high, he gets a chance. He's going to continue to do it, and that's not a problem. Also like to see him catch it a little bit more. Has a tendency to punch more than you'd like.
MLS Next Pro in his future, Andre Blake, Freese, Bendick just got re-signed. You're looking at 4 and below on the depth chart, and there's nothing wrong with that for a young goalkeeper in this situation. All right, Vancouver is in. They picked up this one in a trade from LAFC at 29, but I'm going to use this as an excuse to talk about LAFC, Doyle. You go into an offseason after basically a double, and now you're going into the Champions League. You've got Leagues Cup. Carlos Vela's back, TBD on Gareth Bale. Look ahead for LAFC.
Yeah, well, TBD on Diego Palacios, TBD on Jose Cifuentes, TBD on Jegson Mendez, TBD on Mamadou Fall if he's actually coming back. We don't, have we gotten a real answer on Chiellini? Do we know how healthy Segura is going to be in 2023? They were a great team. They deserved that double last year. They earned every single bit of it. They have more questions going into 2023 than we usually see from teams that achieve so much. Now, they have a lot of solutions. They have a lot of potential answers if they can bring most of those guys back. It's a massive, massive if.
Okay, that is one of the biggest stories of the offseason, but this is the final pick of the first round. With the number 29 overall selection in the 2023 MLS Super Draft presented by Adidas, the Vancouver Whitecaps select a forward out of Syracuse, Levante Johnson, another Canadian. He is the selection here, a national champion as well, Devin.
Powerful, strong. I like the comparison. He's kind of like an ugly duckling at times, but as you go, he's not a goal scorer, but he scores goals. Right places, right time, stretches it. This kid understands with an engine to work. Needs to be a bit cleaner. The amount of opportunities he had in the final third, you got to be ruthless. If you're going to be the 9 and given an opportunity and you have the physical attributes, you've got to be clean and efficient in the final third.
Levante Johnson, number 29 overall.
I feel like they'll get a player that scores goals, creates chances, also that's very selfless, loves to help the teammates out, very hardworking, willing to put in the work. It's really inspiring, actually, seeing guys I played with growing up, on the big stages, even at the World Cup, assisting goals. So it's really inspiring. It gives you that bit of motivation you need to try to grind through and get the job done. Hopefully, be in the same position as them.
Levante Johnson, yes, sir! Gotta love hearing your name called. Gotta love it. Everybody extremely happy for their boy going number 29 overall. The Canadian staying in Canada. He will go from Syracuse to Vancouver. Congratulations to Levante and his entire family. The forward with the dream moment, staying north of the border there to start his pro career. Wonderful stuff from him. That concludes the first round of the 2023 MLS Super Draft presented by Adidas. 29 picks down, they're 88 total, so this is not over. If you're sitting at home and you're an eligible player and you're thinking, okay, I didn't get selected, it's not over for you, and it's certainly not over if you don't get selected as well. MLS Next Pro, a great opportunity should you get it. The professional game is one that's still on the horizon for you. But congratulations to everyone who was selected, and we have one more interview from Susanna Collins, the number 7 overall pick, Elijah Paul, taken by Real Salt Lake.
Elijah Paul, the number 7 pick in this year's draft, heading to RSL. I just saw your mom in the background. Was she taking a picture of you doing your first interview as a professional soccer player?
It's actually my aunt. She's probably just video recording me. Yeah, my uncles and aunts are all here, so we're having a good time.
I mean, it's a pretty special day. What went through your head when you heard your name called?
It's pretty hard to describe. I went to RSL Academy growing up. I'm familiar with the place, so I'm pretty glad that I get to go there, and I just feel unbelievably blessed.
What was your experience like at the RSL Academy, and what do you think that's going to look like now that you are entering the professional realm of soccer?
It was really good. It really got me to where I am today. It really challenged me and pushed me to where I am, so I think it'll get me ready to play pro as well.
I have to give you massive props because I think you look very put together. You're already dressing the part of the professional soccer player. Are we just going to see elevated levels of style here now that you're going to RSL and a true pro?
I'm not sure. Maybe that's for you to find out. I don't know.
Keep us on our toes, Elijah. You're killing it so far. Congratulations. Enjoy, and thank you so much for the time. We look forward to seeing you in 2023.
Thank you.
Thanks, Elijah.
All right, have a good one.
Yeah.
Dressed for the job you want. He dressed to be a first-round draft pick. Number 7 overall, Doyle, what do you make as we go through 1 through 29?
Yeah, I mean, this draft, we'll remember the trade up to get Hamady Diop with that first pick. I think we'll remember the rise of our Canadian overlords. It seemed like every other damn kid picked in this draft was Canadian, which is great news for Canada, for that national team, Canadian fans. The other thing I'm really taking away from it, Orlando, RSL, and Austin really treated this draft like an academy supplement. They felt like a throwback where they said, all right, you know what, we're not going to be able to go out on the market and get everything we want. We're not developing it from within. We see the draft as an undervalued asset. They were able to go out and I think answer some questions that they had on the roster. Of course, not everybody does it that way anymore.
No, let's talk about one of the players that didn't get his name called today, and Tom Bogert broke the news a little bit earlier today. Probably, in my opinion, the best player in the draft, Peter Stroud.
Yeah.
Peter Stroud, I talked to him earlier. He's going to sign a Red Bull homegrown deal.
The best player in college, not in the draft.
Best player in college soccer. First time in history that we have a back-to-back ACC Midfielder of the Year. He's a Herman Award finalist. So January 6th, we'll figure out West Ham Youth, U18, U23s. He's got 15 caps for the U15s and the U17s. Two-way player, does everything in transition. He's gritty. He'll do all the playmaking work. He's got the heart of a lion. This kid, I promise you, is going to be a generational talent.
Wow.
He's that good. Any scout that you talk to, and those aren't my words, I'm borrowing from everybody else behind the scenes. They tell you that this is a kid. There are people that have come into this league who have had a lot less, who have done a lot more. That's how good this kid Stroud is.
So if Stroud had been in the draft, he would have gone one. First overall, no question in your mind.
Well, see, now we're backtracking a little bit because if it's Hamady Diop and Stroud,
I can't let you have that debate.
Right.
We might see Peter Stroud if they can get the deal done with Red Bull. In the opening weekend of action of the 2023 MLS season, you'll watch it all on Apple TV, MLS Season Pass. Here are some games out of that first weekend. I'm looking at FC Cincinnati, Houston Dynamo. I still think one of the stories of this draft, Joey Apononu on his birthday, staying in Ohio, going to Cincinnati. What a wonderful story that is. Galaxy, LAFC. Where might they play that game at? The Rose Bowl. Yeah. All right, wrap it up for me, guys. What's your final comment on the day? Whether it's the trades,
I think there's a bar calling our name.
There
the
is.
Computer open, F5, get the draft tracker going.
What about you, Devin?
Guys that fit right into spots on teams, or at least have the opportunity to, and the versatility aspect that we talked about. A lot of guys that will have a chance somewhere. Maybe not necessarily the position that they played in college, but they're going to have a chance at the pro level, multiple areas on the field, to go live the dream.
Understand the job you're auditioning for. That's what it is. All these kids have been stars their entire life. Not going to work that way at the pros. You got to find where you can fit.
All these players who are wondering whether they'll be selected. MLSsoccer.com. All the supporters head there as well. All right, that does it for the first round of the 2023 MLS Super Draft presented by Adidas. What a day it was. All the 29 players selected in the first round. I say congratulations. The work starts now. Go make the most of it. To our wonderful crew, led by producer Tom Hewitt and director Ken Neal, I say thank you. This production will be lost without you. And on behalf of Susanna Collins, Jillian Sagovitz, Devin Kerr, Matt Doyle, and myself, we'd like to wish everyone out there a very happy holiday spent with family and friends. And a reminder, MLS kicks off 2023 in 66 days. You can watch every single minute on Apple TV. We'll see you in the new year, everyone.
Mm-hmm.